just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. What a weekend of sport. What a weekend in general. First of all, my assistant coaching career continues to climb up to greatness. A couple of Origin Series, biggest win this year for the Broncos, whatever. What did you boys get up to on the weekend?
Yeah, you certainly were popular this weekend. I got sent it. I can't imagine how much Matty would have copped it on the Bloke page, but I got sent it 1,000,000 times.
Look, it's assistant.
By the end of it, I wasn't even happy for you. I was done.
Credit to Kevy Walters giving you the Monday off to come do the podcast with us. He's making sure you don't forget your roots and where you came from.
Mate, that's what Kevy's all about, building culture, remembering tradition and not forgetting where you came from. So I'll pass on your nice words, though, your kind words.
Guru will be hosting next week.
And also, we got to talk about it. Way bigger news. The Matildas, in one of the craziest penalty shootouts I've ever seen, go through to the semi-finals. First ever. Guru, tell me you're watching it. Even the great Reno was watching it.
I missed 2 games of footy for it.
What?
And I love that you've come in dressed this morning as the Minister of Defence. I love that.
The Minister, how dare you, sir? I am the great Queen Mary. Don't besmirch her name. Mary Fowler. She is an absolute superstar. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to dress up like her. And look, I don't know if you guys knew this. I used to play a bit of soccer.
I had heard. When I first saw you today, I thought you were a robber who couldn't make up your mind if it would have been high vis or not. But a little bit confused there. But the great Mary Fowler.
I'm a robber that's a patriot.
Yeah.
Patriotic robber.
Yeah.
If someone tried to rob me in this kit, I'd probably be like, you know what? You care about the country. Here you go, brus. Here you go. It's time for blokes to get their tillies out for the girls. That's what it is. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting my tillies out for the girls and getting behind them because they are absolutely amazing. How good is it to see, like, they broke a record, 20-year record, and ironically, the record was still is. The only, sporting event to beat it was Kathy Freeman's 400 metres, which was absolutely incredible. It just shows you that what they're achieving right now is so incredible. And if they make a grand final in a World Cup, I mean, even if they, bow out against England, the fact that they've done what they've done is nothing short of incredible.
Fucking Kempy, let's win it.
Let's win it.
Switch your
It's got a
attitude.
real 05 NRL season feel in the air at the moment. When the West Tigers just captured the nation, brought people together. And just feeling a little bit like that for me at the moment, the Matildas.
Really?
Yeah. Are you getting that?
Wow. Yeah, I don't. Look, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't get it.
Who's our Scott Prince?
Mary Fowler.
Mary Fowler?
Yeah.
I reckon she's Benji.
Yeah?
Yeah, she's got a bit of Benji about her. She's got class.
Yep.
Bit of pizzazz.
Yep.
Who's our
The
Mark
attacking
O'Neill?
flair.
And Mark O'Neill, Kearney Cross.
Good shout.
Reliable.
Good shout.
Leadership experience, Bit of experience at the back. Brady Hodgson, Mackenzie Arnold.
Mate,
A lot of synergy.
Yeah, look, I'll pay that.
Yeah.
I'll pay that.
Caitlin Ford, a lot of Pat Richards about it on the left wing.
Big time. Glad you said that.
Both left wing specialists.
Yeah, big boot as well.
Mate, how good was that? And, towards the end, the girls looked out on their feet. I will say, I don't think they used a sub for like 70 minutes or something long. And they looked out on their feet.
Had Brad Arthur in the box. Yeah. running the bench.
They looked out on their feet. Who would have known that the coach was a Penrith fan? A Para fan.
That might be your best ever.
They looked out on their feet. Last 5 minutes, they were just defending their arse off. Then they go into penalties. And Mackenzie Arnold. Talk about mental toughness.
Yep.
Are you serious? There's so many things that happened for her. And first of all, she's been incredible all World Cup. But in the penalty, so she saves some. Then she saves one, gets it called back for stepping off her line.
Yeah.
Resets her mind, saves it again. I mean, she will be in that lady's nightmares for the rest of her life.
I thought when the 2 goalkeepers came out, the body language of the French keeper looked stronger to me, but the longer it went on, our girl
She was
kept
just so
going to
locked
another
in.
levels, yeah.
Like no emotion, just locked in. And so she saves her, and then she steps up. She misses the kick to win it. Resets her mental, and then saves more goals.
Unreal.
Tell me, I personally believe that's one of the greatest moments in football.
Without a doubt.
It's unbelievable. I even said football. That's how much I'm on the bandwagon. I said football. So massive shout out to the girls. It is absolutely incredible what they're doing, and I cannot wait. Obviously, Wednesday they play, and then if they make it, it's Sunday at 8 o'clock. It is just amazing to watch. And think about, they got to this point with Sam Kerr not even playing essentially until this game. Like, that is crazy. Sam Kerr, one of the best players in the world. Any other moments stand out for you with the Tillies?
Well, man, I can't believe I missed the Raystone try in the 24th minute. Devastating to miss that one.
I think it was the longest shootout in men's or women's World Cup history.
I think women's.
Just women?
Yep.
20 shots.
20 shots.
Yeah.
I was watching it like so much anxiety. That's the one thing that like soccer offers that's quite unique is like a penalty shootout. It is like so highly strung as to, the result of the game. Mate, it was the best that soccer can offer. Courtney Vine, talk about ice in your veins.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Just rolling up, just a little dink into the bottom right corner. Absolutely beautiful. Seeing all the girls. I actually interviewed Caitlin Ford and Ellie Carpenter, like 5 or 6 years ago in the locker room. And it is crazy to see how far they come. I mean, incredible. So impressive to see her. I mean, Ellie Carpenter, she was like 16.
Yeah, where were they at that point in their careers?
Oh, I think that Ellie Carpenter had just been like put into the Matildas squad, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Caitlin Ford, she was part of the Matildas, I'm pretty sure, back then. So these girls have been, it's not like they came on board like 3 or 4 years ago. They have been building towards this forever. Like, think about a squad at an NRL club that's been together since they were like 17, 18, and then when they're like 26, 28, they win a comp. That's like what this is like.
Ellie could be anything Carpenter.
Yes, absolutely. I wish I had said that to her when I was, you know what? Maybe I did say that to her on the podcast.
I love the Ellie Carpenter interview after the round of 16 win, and she came out and was saying how, as a young girl, she went to a game about 10, 12 years ago, Matilda's game in front of 300 people. And
Incredible.
even from that moment, she's like, no, I knew I wanted to be Matilda. That was the life goal. And now she's playing for them on this stage, United Nation, and she goes in, bangs home a goal in the penalty shootout, sends through to the semi-final. Unbelievable.
Imagine what the next one's going to look like after this.
If she was inspired by at a game with 300 people at it, imagine the young girls at it now.
100%. And I always said that, like, we as men take it for granted when we're younger. We go, yeah, I'm going to grow up and play sport or footy or whatever. Whereas our generation of women, they didn't have that same kind of like, yeah, for sure, I can just play sport. So it's so good to see. And I guess also, hopefully, and I know it's a World Cup and it's a very complicated topic. I get all that. But hopefully it shows that, there is an audience that is interested. Now, it is a World Cup, so the audience is going to be bigger for sure. But it's there. It exists. It's huge crowds, selling out stadiums. If you had said that was going to happen 20 years ago, people would have laughed you out of a room. So we're making progress, and I think we should try to...
I reckon even 5 years ago, people would have laughed at you.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out not to be missed in all as well. Obviously, being on home soil, it's getting all this great attention. But the Aussie Diamonds, the women as well, won the World Cup final about 10 days ago.
Yes.
So
and they beat England too, didn't they?
They beat the Poms, so
yes.
Even better. Yeah.
Yes. Did the Poms come out and say, you know what, we won in spirit? Did they do that? No, you know what? Because they probably got a bit of ticker about them, the netball team. Coming out saying we won in spirit. Jeez, give me a break. Also, just top tip, Queen Mary Fowler, if you want to use your phone with your glove, just give her a little chop, little scroll, all good. Just so you know. I mean, she probably would have thought that about fucking 10 years ago, but it is what it is. So massive congratulations. And, it is the first of its kind, guys. Huge breaking news on the Bloke podcast. The first ever non-rugby league player to win Hungriest Player from Menulog is Arnold. Use code Arnold to get $10 off Mohican food, the great Mexican food. You get $10 off. You use code Arnold. There you go. That has just happened. Mackenzie Arnold is the first ever non-rugby league player to win Hungriest Player, brought to you by Menulog. Get around her, guys. Use code Arnold.
More history for the Matildas there.
More history. They'll be talking about it in that camp, I reckon.
They will.
You know what? Maybe before they run out, he'll say, Mackenzie Arnold won Hungriest Player. Let's get it again.
Yeah.
Let's get it again next week, guys. That's what I said to the Bronx boys before they ran out. I said to them, boys, I cut myself shaving and I still did the podcast this week. Go out there and do something special. Just like the Beak did.
Yep.
And you saw what happened. Yeah, so congratulations. It seriously is so good. And it's so good to see the country united, like the pictures of them singing the anthem and the crowd singing the anthem. Guru, I'm a patriotic man, but that really did touch the heart.
There seemed to just be an unbelievable video from every pub in the country
Yeah.
of that moment, which
So
was like I saw scenes from the SFS when the Roosters were playing of all the Roosters members inside. There was no one in the grandstand.
I know. It's so good to say. Like, think about if they continue. Not even if they continue, but like this is a story that will tell the next generation. Like, you should have seen the Tillies up against it, key player injured, the longest penalty shootout in Women's World Cup history. They got it done. Like, it's just such a special moment for
Matty and I
Australia.
were out at the Roosters Dolphins game and missed the first half. So if there's any shit takes on that game, that's why.
Interesting you mentioned about the anthems. It was around that time I got a bit emotional too because I was at the pub and went up to the bar and just said, all aboard the Tillies, but any chance we can get one TV with the Tigers-Warriors game? A little bit of volume, if you don't mind. How do you reckon that went? Not so good.
Not so good.
Yeah. Go Tillies, but, would have been nice for the boys.
There's more sports in this country. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so massive congratulations to Tillies. Now, huge announcement. Father's Day is around the corner. And that is right. Once again, Bloke is doing a Father's Day drop. And this time it's something special. We've got 4 Big Bloke shirts. So it's Big Bloke. And it's got black, blue, red and brown. 3 Little Bloke shirts. Blue, red and black. So you can get matching shirts with your little fella, Big Bloke, Little Bloke, to wear on Father's Day. Tell me that isn't the cutest shit ever.
I've already got one for me and Tim.
He's your son, is it? Oh, wow. Holy.
I'm happy calling him my daddy. Also getting quick because you've only got 4 in the Big Bloke, 3 in the Little Bloke. Guru's got 2 of them. There's 5 shirts left.
4 colours, that is. 4 colours, but you should get in quick because it is limited numbers. And to top it all off, we also have Girl Dad and Daddy's Girl. So Girl Dad in black and Daddy's Girl in pink. So that's right. If you're a Girl Dad, you got a Daddy's Girl shirt that you can get with you and your daughter. That's going to be dropping next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Very limited numbers, similar to the hoodies, guys. So make sure to get in there, and you will absolutely, definitely get them before Father's Day. We've also got 2 kids' footies as well. And on the kids' footies, they say Little Bloke and Daddy's Girl. How good, how good. And they're Steedens, aren't they? Boom, Steedens. I've never seen a Steeden with Little Bloke or Daddy's Girl on it. So there you go, another first, whatever it is. Not a big deal, whatever. Now let's get straight into it, shall we? Accountability, brought to you by our proud partners at Sportbet. Oh, I've almost come to dread this now, to be honest.
Don't know, nothing to be scared about, but I can tell you today, somebody will go home disappointed.
Oh, no.
There was controversy and accountability today. We've got to protect the ref. Obviously, we've got an issue with participation for refs, so just look after me, then things get a bit hairy here today.
So, touch the ref suspended or what?
Yeah, well, we might find out because it's going to get, a little bit hairy. Not a bad start. I think everyone went for the first game, Penrith 24, Manly 12. The line was 18.5. Everyone went Penrith and Penrith to cover the line as well. So, wasn't their best win. They did get the job done, but everyone came away with at least a point there.
Okay.
Off the back of that, Penrith into $2.10 to win the premiership. Still about 2 months to go.
Holy.
Remarkable price.
Is that one of the lowest odds ever at this time?
It's got to be.
Yeah.
I can't remember it ever being that.
210, that's like winning a game, one-off game.
Yep.
It's outrageous.
Remarkable behaviour.
7 weeks of footy left.
Do they know the assistant's now part of the Broncos coaching staff or not? Maybe the odds will change.
Well, the Broncos came in as well. We'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
You might have to make your way down to Canberra. Just
No, nothing
You
to
that
save
good,
them.
or?
No, nothing to save them. Sorry.
Not a miracle worker.
Next game, Sharkies 36, Titans 6. Line was 6.5 points here. Denon and Timmy, you both went with the Sharkies and the Sharkies to cover the line. Guru and Matty both went Sharkies, but they had Titans, so missed out there on that one.
So it's me and Matty got up there?
You're ahead. You're ahead at
Hey.
the moment. And Timmy.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Me and
Little
Timmy,
bloke.
but Matty. Okay, the son.
Corruption and the
The
highest.
sun. Now the next one, Broncos Eels up at the Rabbitohs, undefeated now. Coach Kemp, he turns up. Bit of a synergy for Bloke. Kempy turns up, the Broncos turn up.
Yeah.
Bring the noise, 54-10. Line 10.5 points. Everyone went the Broncos. Everyone went Broncos to cover. Well done, give yourselves a round of applause
Thank
there.
you.
Stuff, boys.
Thank you.
Well played, very well played. Next game here. Now this is where there's potentially going to be some dramas.
Oh, no.
Souths 26 defeat Dragons 14. Line 20.5 points. Everybody went, well, actually Denon and Matty both went Souths. And then Guru, you went Dragons head to head. If you watch the tape back,
Oh, no.
Timmy didn't actually submit a head to head tip.
Oh, that is so typical. That is so typical of Timmy the Tin Heart.
You asked me what the line was, and you went, yeah, I'll take Dragons with the plus. which you got correct. Everyone got dragged with the plus, but you didn't actually put a head-to-head tip in. So,
Oh, wow.
you had a bit on your plate. Your beloved GWS Giants had a big game on the weekend. You must have been all over the shop thinking about that, but you've cost yourself. You didn't put one in, so
Non-submitted tip.
yeah, and that's going to cost you come the pointy end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Similar to the
that's a
Raiders
dagger.
similar to the Raiders towards the end of the year.
exactly. Next game here, same old story. Tigers robbed again. Tigers 22, Warriors 30. Line 10.5 points. Everyone got 2 points here except for Guru, who thought that the Warriors were going to cover the line there, which I didn't manage to do.
You got to be bold, mate.
You do
It's
have
not
to be
coward
bold.
in a bar. Just trying to keep us alive over here.
Now this next game, as a big Chooks fan, Guru, you would have been pretty chuffed with this one. Chooks 30, Fish 14.
Did you see me sitting behind Trent Robinson?
Yeah, the Robbo Whisperer. So you actually went with the Fish in this one, Denon. Head to head.
Did I really?
You did.
I actually changed my tip later in the week, but whatever.
Yeah. When I heard it, so that's cost you a point there. Fuck. Everyone else got full points except Matty. You had the Fish to cover, so that one's going to cost you a little bit there. This next game kicked off a pretty ordinary 4 hours or so for Timmy. His Raiders copped it, and then his beloved Giants got towed up as well, in a must-win game. So good of you to make it in this morning. Storm 48, Raiders 2, and the line was 10.5 points. So I think everyone here got 2 points except actually Guru. You took the Raiders to cover. And Timmy, you actually went against your team head-to-head, which you don't do too often, but you did take them to cover. So
Yeah,
that's
also going with the head, not the heart on this one, mate.
Absolutely. And then the last game, Knights versus Dogs. Another great opportunity for Doggies fans to stay patient here, this one. 42 points to the Knights, Dogs 6 points. Line 12.5. Everyone went Knights and Knights to cover. So that brought us home.
Yeah, all right.
So here's where we ended up this week. Bringing up the tail this week, big Chooks fan Gurino on 11 points. Timmy with his brain fart, he's on 12 points. And then it's amazing, we put in all these extra tips to try and avoid a tie. We've actually got a tie for the top. Denon and Matty on 13 points each. So how do you want to settle this?
I didn't tip, I forgot to put in my tip for the Rabbitohs, but I did tip the Dragons to cover the line. Did that get included, mate? Or
Yeah,
not?
that's all been included. I'll flick you a spreadsheet.
See, now we've got a ref here. Timmy starts to struggle because
some questionable ref in here. But all
Bit of back
right,
chat.
all right.
I know you're hurting, mate.
give a warning, mate. Give a warning. Bloody hell.
I know you're hurting.
Tough 24
both your teams
hours.
lost. But it's all good. So, yeah, we're going to oil you boys up and just wrestle.
Yeah, later on. We'll
What are
film
you
it later.
thinking?
Yeah.
All right, I look forward to it. Anyway, that's accountability, boys.
Thank you. That's a win.
Stay accountable.
That's
Well
a
done,
win.
boys.
I'll take that.
Well done.
Now,
claim the draw as a
also,
win.
before we get into tips for this week,
Yeah.
odds on the Tillies.
Yeah, odds on the Chili's. Great call. So, to win the whole thing, $4.50. They got out as far as $29 after losing to Nigeria. Wow. We're going to be back on the one-ply toilet paper at Sportsbet if the Tillies win, though. They're easily our best back team. That is going to hurt the book.
Yep.
And then to win against England, we're outsiders. You get pretty similar odds to the France game, $2.23, England $1.61, and the method of victory that's the shortest is the penalty shootout again, $4.80.
I can't handle the stress.
Yeah.
I can't go through it again.
Yep,
Oh, man.
got to be tough. But go Tillies.
Go Tillies, absolutely.
And stay accountable.
You hear that, Tillies? Stay accountable. Brought to you by Sportsbet. All right, let's get into our tips for this week coming.
Beautiful. I've got him here.
All right.
Alrighty. Hey, do you want to just yell them at me, Matty, or you text them through again? All right. No worries. All right, first game. Cowboys $1.55. Sharks $2.45. The line 5.5 points in this one.
Oh, that's a tough one to open up.
Up there in North Queensland.
Yep.
I'm going to go Cowboys and Cowboys to cover.
I'm going to go Sharkies for an upset. Sharkies +4.
I'm going to go the Cows and the Cows to cover.
Like it. Next game, Waz $1.28. Manly $3.75. 10.5 points is the line. And that's over in New Zealand.
Warriors to cover.
Yeah, Warriors to cover.
Warriors to cover.
Beautiful. Then we got Eels $2.25. Chooks $1.65. 3.5 points.
Roosters to cover.
Yeah, Roosters to cover.
I am going to go the Eels in this one. And, yeah.
No Mitch Moses.
No Mitch Moses. Dylan Brown will step up. Campbell Gillard back in. Sevo back in.
Okay.
At Combank.
Could be one of your best, Timmy,
I think
after
they
such a
can-
bad week.
I think they can win it.
Like it. Then we got now this is game of the round. This one, Tigers versus the Fish out at Combank. I'll be there. Now, big news around this game.
Yeah.
Chris Minns has announced if the Tigers win this, there'll be a public holiday on Monday. So, very good reason to get around the boys.
Do you reckon there's going to be little kids that'll turn into NRL players in 15 years' time? Go, I was at the Tigers and Dolphins and there was only 300 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And they go, that inspired you from that moment. I wanted to be a Tigers
You know what?
player.
It will get kids into a game, just not rugby league.
Yeah. No, we're doing well to get 300 there. I'll be there though. Tigers $1.96, Fish $1.88. 1.5 points is the line.
I'm going the Tigers.
Yep.
And Tigers to cover.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm joining Kempy. I want the Tigers to get a W here.
Yeah, Tigers and Tigers to cover.
Beautiful. Then we got the Dragons $4.95. I've leapt ahead there. Titans $6.70. Panthers $1.10. 18.5 points is the line
Panthers and
at the Gold Coast.
Jeez.
18's a lot.
Panthers, Titans to cover.
Okay.
No, I'll go Panthers to cover the line.
I'll go Panthers and Panthers to cover the line.
Beautiful. Dragons $4.95. Storm $1.18. 14.5 points.
Storm and Storm to cover.
Yep.
Yeah, Storm to cover here.
Storm to cover.
Beautiful. Knights $2.10. South $1.75. 2.5 points is the line. No Jackson Hastings.
South and South to cover.
I'm going to take Newcastle and Newcastle to cover.
I'll go South to cover.
Beautiful. And we finish with the big poosling, Milk versus the Dogs. Milk $1.33, Dogs $3.37, and the line 9.5 points.
Raiders and Raiders to cover.
Raiders 1 to 12 for me, Hammy.
Okay,
I think
like
double
it.
points.
What was the line? 9.5.
Yep.
Raiders to cover.
There you go. That's it.
There it
That's
is.
accountability. Thanks to Sportsbet.
Thank you. Thanks so much to Legends of Sportsbet. Gamble responsibly, guys. You win some, but you lose more. Only pump what you can afford. And thanks, as always, to the great Hammy from Sportsbet.
I won't see you on Monday because the Tigers are going to win that. Get a public holiday.
No, we don't do public holidays here at Bloke.
I'll see you Monday then.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Thanks, boys.
Now, before we get into Team of the Week, Liquor Legends in New South Wales, ACT and Queensland are selling Bloke Midi $16.99 for a six-pack. Get into your local Liquor Legends, New South Wales, ACT, Queensland, $16.99 and give Bloke Midi a try. Plus, we're in every single Celebrations, Porter's Liquor, IGA Plus Liquor, Bottle-O in New South Wales, Queensland, ACT. Let's get into Team of the Week, shall we? Now, at number 1, Nick Meaney. 2, Dean Mariner. 3, Dan Gagai. 4, Jesse Ramian. Now, you had a bit of an issue with this, Matty. Timmy.
I just thought the centre on the other side of the field had a bit of a stormer as well because Steve Talakai caught a bit of stick, got dropped there for a while and back in. We'll get to that defensive edge being terrific again, but some really nice little delicate tip-ons from Mulitalo tries.
Okay.
Could have easily gone either way, but I thought Big Steve had a stormer as well.
Okay, what do you reckon, Guru?
I think you've all slept on my Roosters centre, Billy Smith.
Okay.
Been right up there.
Okay. He was good. But you're a Roosters fan, so you would say that. At 5, Ronaldo Mulitalo. At 6, he brings joy to my heart. You know, almost kryptonite to a Tigers fan's heart. But at 6, it's Dane Laurie. He was outstanding in a losing side. And I tell you what, as a Tigers fan, it's got to be bitter as anything going, what the hell? We had this guy in New South Wales Cup the whole year and we're at the bottom of the table. What's Adam doing? Seriously.
What makes it even more bitter is like going back to Penrith next year where he's probably still in New South Wales Cup unless there's injuries.
Oh, mate.
How?
Like, you look at that and you go, okay, that's because, like, I reckon Adam Dewey, and no one laughed at my joke, but whatever. It was like a really good joke because Adam Dewey's out, so Laurie would come in, had a lot of layers to it, but no one gave a fuck. So it's whatever. Who cares? But I reckon actually with Laurie playing this well, let's say he could play this well all year, with Adam Dewey back, you can afford to put him in the centres and go and make him like a roaming centre that gets through a lot of work. Whereas I feel like Dewey is there because he's the best 6 at the club. Because I think he's probably more suited towards a centre so that you can just go, mate, I just need you to run the ball fucking tough, hard. Because, yeah, he's one of the best players at the club, Adam Dewey. It's just a matter of, like, what is his best position?
The one thing for them is that I might be wrong, but I don't think they probably could have gone with a Laurie and Dewey halves combination anyway. They still need that organising half back.
Oh, no, sorry. It would have been Laurie and Brooks.
Oh, sorry, with Lauren Brooks. Yeah.
And then move Dewey to the centres.
Sorry, yeah. But even for Tyson's out there going, we're losing Laurie and Dewey to come back.
It wouldn't have been, couldn't go on Laurie.
Nah, so...
Both too similar as players. At 7, it brings warmth to my heart as well. Guru, I'll let you say this is a fan of the club.
Yeah, Drew Hutchinson. What about the people's halves pairing? Hutcho and Dane Laurie.
That is the people's. That's a battler's half pairing.
Love that.
That's so good.
Well, these guys could have got halves pairing for New South Wales Cup 3 weeks ago.
It's so good.
And I mean that with the greatest respect. They've come in and dominated.
Drew Hutchinson's turned the Roosters season around.
100%.
How ironic that a team full of superstars has needed a good old-fashioned battler just to straighten them up and get them back on the horse.
I don't know, it's easy in hindsight, but this happened in 2021. I think he got him to finishing 5th on the ladder.
Him and Sam Walker.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Sammy Walker came back this week, and there's a bit of chat that he gets propelled straight back into the top grade. Like, they could not be any more different players if they tried, him and Sammy, could they?
I think that if you're going to bring Sam Walker back, Kiri's obviously going to play the year out, but it'd be at 6, not at 7. Like, Drew Hudson, you won 2 on the trot. Like, why would you take him out of the 7 role?
You can't drop him after that.
No way. Leo Thompson at 8. Another battler. Geez, he's improved this year. He wasn't even a front rower at the start of the year. He's moved in there. And, there's an argument he made he's been their most consistent front rower.
I think there's a very strong argument he's been their most consistent.
Which is the Saifidi brothers have probably had better one-off games. But consistent, Thompson's been consistent all year long. Yeah. We'll get into it, though. 9, Blake Brayley. Harry Grant, close second. 10, Adam Fanua-Blake, outstanding season. 11, Kurt Catewell. He has been so good the last few weeks. 12, Nat Butcher, probably having the best year of his career. Adam Elliott at 13. Really, really, isn't it funny? Like, you finally give him a bit of a stint at 13 and he starts putting together these good games. Because we've been calling for Adam Elliott 13 for 3 years now?
He had a moment a few weeks ago against the Canberra Raiders where he threw 2 really loose passes and it sort of let the Raiders back into the game. And I reckon someone said something to him after that because since then, he has just been taking it forward and playing some great footy.
Yep. At 14, Jerome Hughes. Geez, if you think the Storm are going to resurge, it's on the back of Hughes. 15, Terrell May, outstanding off the bench. 16, Tohu Harris. What more is there to say about the bloke? And 17, similar situation. Payne Haas once again killed it.
Real battlers 17 this week, particularly battlers 13, but I like it.
Yeah, Isaiah Yeo was outstanding as well.
Yep.
So that's the team of the week. And quickly, Shoe Grab. Make sure you head to Shoe Grab to get new shoes. Free delivery on all orders over $99. Sneakers, casual, performance, slide, limited exclusive, plus a bunch of clothes and accessories. Support Shoe Grab, guys, because they support us. Go follow them on Instagram. They've got a store in Melbourne, a store in Sydney, and they love rugby league as much as we love rugby league. So get around them. Free delivery. Over $99, you can get clothes, sneakers, anything you want. It's a fantastic store, and it's the biggest market for shoes in Australia. Now let's get into the game, shall we?
Before we get stuck into it, shout out Lachie Lam, the Elite Leopards.
Oh yes,
winning the Challenge Cup, first time I believe for them in 52 years. Field goal in extra time to win it.
And was that his first field goal ever?
I don't know.
I think it might have been his first. Can you Google? I think it was his first field goal.
The scenes were incredible.
Yeah.
And Adrian Lam coaching the side as well. He's old boy.
Could be wrong, but I think if you go back 20, 25 years, Adrian Lam did the exact same thing. Scored a try, kicked a field goal to win a Challenge Cup as well. Not
No
with the lead,
way.
obviously, but yeah, pretty wild.
Wow, what an incredible moment, and how special for them as a family.
Yeah, he's only kicked a field goal in New South Wales Cup.
So his first professional field goal, pretty much. Wow.
And these two as well, it's worth noting, when he was younger, Lachie, he played for the Clovelly Crocodiles in the Eastern Suburbs Comp. His coach was his father as well. So they have coached through junior grades. I'm pretty sure that Victor Radley was in that side as well. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, wow. I think that I understand Super League's not as big as NRL, not even close, but I do believe we're starting to see it's not as bad as people think in regards to if you want to go over there and enjoy a rugby league career, you absolutely can. You see it all the time.
And it can be a stepping stone to getting back into the NRL. Take Jackson Hastings, for example.
Yeah.
Can you believe, 2 years ago, Jackson Hastings wasn't at the Newcastle Knights. Now I'm sitting here going, geez, do they make the top 8 without Jackson Hastings?
Is their season over without? Yeah.
Blokes like Brad Schneider's just gone over there and having a bit of success. Jai Field, Brodie Croft, I think he just signed a long-term deal. But you're going to see faces like this back in the NRL. They're all in relatively well in the early stages of their career. Croft a bit old, but they'll be back. You learn so much from the experience. It's a terrific level of footy over there. Not quite to NRL standard, but there's some bloody good footballers running around, so they'll be back.
Well, even they're talking Pearce might come back.
Yeah, Piercy.
So We'll see. Aiden Caesar might be back as well.
Yep.
Now let's get into the game, shall we? Panthers defeat Manly 24-12. I spoke about this last week, but really strange game from a Manly's perspective, because if you said Panthers beat Manly 24-12, you'd go, mate, great performance, like really well done from Manly. They kept them low, scoring of 24 points. But if you actually watched the game, I'd argue it was a missed opportunity from Manly. I thought Penrith were there to be beaten. I don't think Penrith played anywhere near as good as they usually do. Now, is it because Manly played not such unique footy, but they were willing to spread the ball quite a bit? Is that why they didn't play well? And is that Penrith's kryptonite? I do think there are a lot of clubs watching right now going, hey, maybe there is something to it. So I'm quite torn as to how I feel about the Manly performance, because I do feel like if they had been a little bit more conservative at times, they actually may have been able to beat Manly. On top of that, at least one of the Penrith tries definitely wasn't a try. Liam Martin knock on. So I can't be too harsh on Manly, but at the same time, I do think they missed a little bit of an opportunity. What do you reckon, Guru?
Yeah, I think they did miss a bit of an opportunity, but I don't know, I've had a lot of people message me over the weekend say, we found how to beat Penrith.
Yeah, I'm not
convinced.
Yeah.
I'm so far from convinced.
I think there is stuff to take out of it for sure.
Yep.
But a way to beat them, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, and I also think, you got to remember this Penrith side, Spencer Leniu wasn't there. Jerome Luai wasn't there. They moved Stephen Crichton from right centre.
Mitch Kenny wasn't there.
Mitch Kenny wasn't there.
How's that Tungo?
Tungo, that's half your spine gone. And yes, Manly, they were able to move the ball around early. But, geez, when you do that, you open the door for more errors in your game. And if you let Penrith just stay down your end, which is what you open yourself up to, that game can be done and dusted very quickly. I also think that, there was controversial refereeing decisions and everything, but I also thought there was a moment in this game where Penrith were coming out of their own end. They're on the left-hand side, and Penrith, with every single set they do coming out of their own end, they go through the middle. There was a moment there where Jack Cogger got into dummy half and he went down the short side. There's a little bit of space there. But if that was Jerome Luai, someone, they stick to the game plan, they go through the middle. He throws the pass out to Stephen Crichton, who was offside in front of the play of the ball. And that turned the momentum straight away as well. I think that if you didn't have Jack Cogger there in that moment, for example, they stick to their game plan like they have for the last 3 years straight, go through the middle. So I'm so far from convinced we've found a weakness. And I personally think Kempy, this Penrith side, they're treading water. So they can see September and they know that's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that there are some things you can look at and go, there is a bit of room on the edges there, and their defence, does compress up quite a bit, the Penrith side. But yeah, I don't believe, people go, there's a way, we know how to beat Panthers now. It's like, well, you didn't though. It's like, still didn't. Even with Penrith not playing well, missing half their spine. I will say as well, it shows you from a Penrith perspective how important Jerome Luai is to that side, and Mitch Kenny as well. They didn't look anywhere near the lethal side they are. And also, I think Cogger, he's a 7, he's not a 6. What do you think about the game, Timmy?
I loved Manly's approach to it and using the ball early. And it tied into the fact that they were missing so many key middles. And that was the worry of this game. You're going, Penrith are just going to belt them through the middle. They went, all right, we'll throw something different at them. They had Lodge missing, Paseka missing, a few others there. So there was a Stephen Crichton intercept try early on in the game. There was that controversial one following the Liam Martin just before half-time. They were the 2 first half tries that, they were there. It is what it is. But, could have gone the other way. Manly using the footy. We've spoken about it on the podcast before, and God, no one has a way of beating the Penrith Panthers, but I think the early kicks and turning them around and not letting Edwards and Brian Toto and that fly off their line, get all that momentum, get the quick play, the ball, turning them around, the early kicks. I like what they did, and look, they didn't get the win, and Kempy, in a lot of ways, there probably was a missed opportunity to win this game for Manly. But the fact that we're even having that conversation, I'm like, well, they've done something right.
Do you think that? So you think that it was Manly playing really well rather than Penrith playing poorly?
I think it was a combination of both. But I think we saw a game plan from Manly to particularly get at Zach Hosking out at centre. They saw an opportunity there. They went at him. They had success a couple of times. They had their line backs. They looked dangerous. They looked threatening, and they were in this game. I think we don't forget how good Penrith are, but I think we can be very critical of teams quite often that lose to Penrith by whatever the margin is because of how goddamn good they are. They lost to Penrith by 12 points with a bunch of their middles out and Tom Trbojevic. I think they can hold their heads pretty high after that game.
Yeah. As I said, I'm really torn. Because some of the errors that they made in key moments, I just think there was an opportunity there. I think that Penrith turned up, missing quite a lot of players, and they were just nowhere near their best. You know, when I spoke about it last week, but even some of the chat before the game from Seabold about, you know, we basically we can't beat them in arm wrestle, so we just need to play expensive footy. I just didn't like that mindset going in. I don't know any 17 players in the NRL that can't beat another 17 players. Like, this is rugby league. Like, Penrith are good, but they're not gods. They're not gods. They're human beings. They're people. It just takes 80 minutes, a couple of sin bins, a couple of bad calls, whatever it is. I mean, you could argue from Manly's perspective, a couple of tough calls against them, they lost the game. And so I just didn't – I liked the tactics, but I didn't like the mindset of we just almost can't beat them in arm wrestle. You know, if Dolphins said that before they played Roosters in round 1, I don't think that's the right mindset, and they didn't. They came out and they actually ground Roosters out of the game. If Queensland had said in 2020 they would have got beaten, but they didn't. They had certain tactics, but I don't think Queensland going into that series ever said, oh, they're just so much better than us.
At Brookie Oval of all places, the fortress.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a mixed bag for me. I do believe tactically there were some really good things to look at, but at the same time, there was other areas where I'm like, I just don't know if I agree with that.
And for me, I think that's the frustrating thing about those comments. Like, you've got the most experienced halfback in rugby league.
And Jake Trbojevic in your forward pack.
Like, what do you mean you can't beat them?
In an arm wrestle. It's like, I personally believe any professional outfit in the NRL can beat anyone in any style. Now, the likelihood may be less, but to say that you essentially can't, I don't agree with that. I think any team, like, put it this way, like the Tigers, the Tigers are at the bottom of the table. Are you telling me, I mean, the Tigers did beat Penrith. I know they were missing a couple of players, but doesn't that show you something? That the Tigers beat Penrith and they were missing, Cleary? Could you go back and get the team list, please?
I'd love to hear what Manly fans think. Like, for a Manly coach to say that they don't think they can win at Brookvale.
In an arm wrestle, specifically.
In an arm.
And, he didn't specifically say we can't. He might have said we can't beat them, or essentially implied that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love that personally.
Yeah, I don't love that. If Mike, put it this way, if my coach come out and said that, like the Broncos, I'd be like, what? Absolutely can.
So when Tigers beat Penrith, Penrith are basically full strength. Like, Cleary was playing, Luai's playing, like, they're all playing.
It was in the absolute
rain.
bog.
It was the rain.
Still,
they're
they're both playing shit weather.
They're one of the great levelers, but correct. It was out in Tamworth, somewhere out west.
Yeah, they're both playing in shit weather. And if anything, you would say the team that wins arm wrestles should dominate that game.
Yeah.
So, any team can beat any team on any day. Like, yes, Penrith are definitely favourites. It is clear they're favourites. They are absolutely incredible at what they're doing, but they're human beings. They make mistakes just like everyone else. I really do believe they're getting this kind of and I think on the weekend, maybe it brought them down a little bit. Not personally, as in outwards looking in, but they are getting an aura of Mike Tyson, where they're going into games where people are already beaten, going, oh my God, these good. But I think that they're definitely beatable. Every team is.
And that was, very similar. You go back, 10 years ago, that was the Melbourne Storm. You couldn't beat them. And then all of a sudden the Sharkies went down and went, no, fuck these guys. We're not showing them any respect.
Yep.
People bagged him for it. I thought it was fair and play on. Like, even when Michael Ennis, robbed Cameron Smith on the head or whatever. If you're out in the field, it's a contest.
Yeah, you're trying to win footy
You go
games.
at it.
Yeah.
And no one would have loved that more than Cam Smith. No one would have appreciated that more than Cam Smith.
Add in as well, Brad Parker starting centre, Ben Trbojevic starting back rower. They played 40 minutes each and both left the field with failed HIAs.
Yeah. So, as I said, I definitely not bad from Manly. Like, I'd probably lean towards it's a satisfactory outing. I just think that was an opportunity. It just was an opportunity. A huge win, heaps of confidence, get the boys back eventually. I know Lodge is out for the rest of the season.
I just thought throughout that game as well, I know they went in with that game plan, but there was just a couple of occasions where they just overdid it.
Oh,
for
yeah.
no reason.
And that's a concern with communication, why are the players thinking they need to kick on first tackle?
Well, that he takes that intercept, and that play sums up Josh Schuster for me. He's so talented that he can take an intercept on Nathan Cleary, gets down the other end, and it was just a nothing play.
That was his whole
You got the
career
two
summed up in
fastest
one
footballers
play.
in the game on the right hand side, and he kicked to the left corner.
And Brad Parker.
If you're going to kick at the wrong time, which even if he kicked right, it's still the wrong play. But Brad Parker couldn't keep up with him, let alone get the catch.
I mean, I love Brad, but he's probably one of the slowest centres in the competition.
For sure, but you're not picking Brad Parker for his speed.
No, you're picking him for his toughness.
their speed. The two track athletes on the other side of the field. Which if you get tackled and you spread the ball, you're in then.
That moment was incredible, and Ruben Garrick's force and backs kick off the kick return just sends it back downfield. I don't know if they spoke about it in the press, like what happened. He had to be going for the 2040, didn't he? Like what?
No, Saab was running. Saab was ready. It was a premeditated play.
Oh my God! But Edwards was back there.
Yeah. Didn't Latrell do that in that crazy game last year? It sort of just got lost. Remember in the South Roosters game last year? Latrell did a similar thing.
Yeah, he did.
But then
that's
because
right.
it was 15 fights, no one ever spoke about it. Latrell did the same thing last year. He just picked it up, kicked it straight
I think
back.
Latrell's was a little bit different though because they were under the pump. Like it was such an aggressive game, the line speed. So Chell was just going, you know what? Let's just break up this rhythm.
Yeah.
But I think Garrick's was more along the lines of the coach has said to them all, boys, just play fucking footy.
The play there was fine in theory and quite inventive. It was great. Just not the right time.
That's right. You need Edwards in the line.
Yeah, if Edwards in the line and you get Saab at full pace sweeps, just not the time.
And so I have a lot of admiration for them, trying these things and, really going to the game for sure. But as I said, it's just a mixed bag for me. It's a really mixed bag. You can look at it one way and go 24-12 against the Panthers. Fucking well done, boys. You got multiple forwards out. You really risked it. You didn't go conservative. But then you can look at the other side and go, geez, if you just cleaned up a few things here or there, that's a win. That's a win. We'll talk about Manly first. I thought Sipley was good. I really did. Yep. Ironically, I actually thought their forwards were good. Like, I didn't watch that game and go, wow, Panthers forwards are just completely dominating them. I thought the Manly forwards were quite good.
I think, though, that it was, without talking about Penrith, I thought it was very evident. You could see just how important Mitch Kenny is in defence.
Oh, massive.
Luke Summerton made his debut and he's been doing very well in New South Wales Cup, but you could see very early in that game defensively he was in a bit of trouble coming through the middle, and Manly picked that out as well. And I think it was that set where Toa Sipley scored. I think they rented him almost 3 tackles on the trot there that made life very difficult, but once again just made me sit there and go, you know what, Mitch Kenny might not be the most talented in attack, he might be slow at a dummy half, but if you're not conceding points, who gives a fuck?
And also, we forget, there's two sides to games, attack and defence. Yep. If you're one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive nine in the comp, that's the same as being the best attacking nine in the comp. And we praise Api Coruscant, and rightly so, he's unbelievably talented. But Mitch Kenny, he's the most underrated nine in the competition by far. Now, is he as good as Harry Grant? No, he's not. But what he offers that team, it's unbelievable the fact that he's gone from a utility forward to the starting nine that's needed in one of the best teams we've ever seen.
And when I'm watching Penrith at the end of last year, when Appy's not on the field and Mitch Kenny's on, I'm comparing him to Appy going, my God, he is so slow. This is so frustrating. And I'm also comparing him to a guy as Appy that is just never makes the wrong decision. Now you're comparing him to your Sonnies, Luke Summertons, the less experienced guys who, yes, they might be, Mitch Kenny might not be the fastest 90 service, might not be perfect, but very rarely do I sit there and go, oh, Mitch Kenny should have given it there.
Yeah, wrong decision.
Wrong decision.
He makes the right call.
It might be half a second slower, but you're making the right decision.
And as I was saying, in regards to, the grind side of things, Manly missed less tackles than Penrith. So I think they should have more belief in that fact that they can grind. Like, they beat the Storm by bashing the fuck out of their middle. Yeah. And I know they're missing, 2 forwards. I get that. But I still look at this side and go, Sipley at his best has so much potential. He's a big mobile body. Sean Kepi, he's had some really good games in his career. Obviously, Olakau'atu was outstanding. And then Jake Trbojevic at 13. Ben Trbojevic, a rookie, obviously. But Jake Trbojevic at 13, he's one of the best in the comp. That starting forward pack, that's a solid forward pack to me. It really is, especially if you've got DCE directing it.
I was really, really happy to see Olakau'atu take himself to this game.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've sort of, leading into Origin, I thought, geez, he's doing it every week. This is great. Then he dropped off for 5 or 6 weeks, and these are the sort of games that I wonder, is he going to stand up or not? He really went after it in this game. He was fantastic.
Talk about one blokes to stand up in big games. Very big game, Manly playing for a final spot. DCE comes in, 3 line assists. It was tremendous, especially in that first half. Really took it to Penrith. They said they were playing expansively. It was all Ches getting the ball and just fanging it out wide. Yep. Just loves a big game.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I was surprised at, the idea that you couldn't arm wrestle him. That's exactly what DCE has done to Cleary in Origin, is kick him out of the game. Yeah. So I try to lean towards the positive side of I think they'll take a lot of confidence out of that. I think that maybe they might look at it and go, look, there are some things we can take from this. Maybe we do need to spread the ball a little more. Maybe we need to hit 3 in defenders and keep going down corridors. I thought, the Schuster situation, it's just getting tough because I just don't know whether... Well, he's going to be back row next year. And so is he feeling like he's in games for long enough? Does he feel it?
Joey said in commentary on Thursday night, Manly's season, are they done now? Is it a line through them?
Yeah,
or
I think so.
If you're putting a line through them and what they obviously need to win their next 3, hope results go their way. Maybe they're a bit more chance than that. But Brooks is coming next year. He's going to partner DCE. Do you put him in the back row now? They need an edge back row like Benny Chaboy.
Yeah.
He'll probably be out again.
It's not a bad shout.
You just go, let's get him 3 games under his belt to finish the season on the edge, get those combos going again and get him time back in the forward pack. Like, you sort
and
of
challenge him.
You don't really have anything to lose, do you?
Yeah, and challenge him too and say, mate, you're a back rower now. We want to see, 10 to 15 carries a game. We want to see defensively getting, your shoulder into all the tackle, every tackle.
Yeah, I don't think you've got anything to lose. You can get a bit of time under the belt of whether it's KO Weeks or Jake Arthur, whoever your backup halfback is going to be.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I guess when I watch the game, though, I just wonder, does Schuster like it? Is Schuster going to embrace that back row next year? And was it more the fact that he was so good in back row for that first year, it was more because he was a rookie and he was really hungry, and has he lost that hunger? I'm not sure. Because I watch him at 6, and it doesn't seem to me like he's embracing the physicality of the game. When he's the biggest 6 in the comp?
You have to be, wouldn't you?
Have to be. And yet I don't watch him
of all time.
Yeah. And so I don't watch him and go, geez, he's really using his physicality as a 6. He's using his silkiness.
What's interesting, though, is like, I don't remember him when he played on the edge with Manly. Granted, he was out inside, Kieran Foran, but having terrible defensive lapses. I always thought he was solid enough.
It was outstanding.
And then when he made the move to 5'8", sure, it's a little bit different. You're one man further out. You probably have to make a few more one-on-one tackles, but it's not that different. And, yeah, it just seemingly has just gone downhill defensively so much since he's gone to the halves.
Is it a compliment to Foz?
It's a massive compliment to Foz.
We'll look at Fafita.
He's done the same for Fafita, and I didn't get into doing it, but I wanted to go back and look at just Foz's result and the impact he had defensively with, it's a fair bit of digging to do, but with the edge back rowers at his previous clubs and what that sort of looked like, because it's a huge compliment to Foz.
Yeah.
You just mentioned there maybe moving Schuster to the edge. Like, if their season is gone, geez, I'd love to see them start to get some of these younger guys in. Like they've got this hooker there, Jan Kum Tong. I'd love to see him given an opportunity.
Yeah.
Big raps on him, hey. Good in New South Wales Cup.
Great in the trials.
And
Great
like,
in the trials.
Lachie Croker does a fantastic job for you, but like, if you were to get to pre-season next year and Lachie Croker was to go down, Yuka hasn't played first grade all of a
good
sudden.
call.
Take this opportunity.
And also, I think we're finding more and more that hooker rotation is becoming almost if Harry Grant is getting rotated, then it's, unless you're, Blake Brayley, who seems to be one of those guys that has a real steady pace. But outside of that, I don't really see players needing to play 80 in the hooking role. I think the game's too big, too fast, too explosive to cop that. Maybe even Blake Brayley could use a spell. Maybe that would improve his game, even though he's outstanding on the weekend. I just think that maybe it's like the Taumalolo effect. Remember how Taumalolo came through as a 13 and everyone just go, we need front rowers at 13. And I think Cameron Smith has done that with the 9 role, where it's like, we absolutely need you to play 80, otherwise you're not considered a top-tier hooker. I just think the game's changed so much. I think you're better off running with the utility on the bench. That, like Mitch Kenny, for example, I know he's become the starting hooker, but a guy that could just come in, tackle his ass off, and good service. That's it. And then give your explosive players, rest, so that when they do come back on, they are just full ball the whole time. Because we saw what happened with Harry Grant. He completely changed the momentum of the game. So back to the...
do the Bunnies do that with Havili and Cook? Like, we know Cook and he's a gun. Just on the other, I'm not saying it's the right or wrong answer, whatever it is, but... And they trialled it when Havili came back from injury. Play Havili that first 20 and then just have Cookie coming on to a tiring pack, play 60 straight and just chops them to pieces.
Well, even if you go Cookie first 30, Havili 10 and 10, like across the half, and then Cookie the last 30, even if you did it like that, just to give him that extra breathing room to come back on and essentially be as fresh as he was at minute 1 towards the end of the game, maybe.
Especially when Manly in particular have got the advantage of having like a Jake Trbojevic who you know is going to play 80 minutes every week.
Yeah.
Like you can then carry a utility there.
Yeah. So, as I said, I even though I had some issues with certain things, I would lean more towards a positive outing for the Manly Seagulls. Not great, but, satisfactory. Now, to the Penrith Panthers. Definitely one of their, obviously definitely not their worst performance of the year, but I would put it in probably their bottom 5 performances this year. Didn't look anywhere near as energetic as they usually look. Didn't look anywhere near as aggressive as they usually look. But this is what great teams do. When they're not playing well, they still get the win. When they got a bunch of really, not really unique, but tactics that you don't usually see getting thrown at them, they still find a way to get the job done. But I want to talk about Stephen Crichton. Very unlucky, obviously, not to get in the team of the week. But that intercept that he caught, it was just so well done because he did it in a way where he had the tackle covered as well as the intercept, whereas a lot of the time they just go straight intercept and that's all they're worried about. Whereas he put himself in a position where if they had have hit short, he would have been able to tackle. It would have been a quick play of the ball, but he still would have been able to make the tackle. It was super, super smart the way he did it, and he's the best interceptor in the game, and I'd put him up there with probably the best interceptor we've seen since, Freddie used to be really good at it?
Probably Girdler.
Good.
Yeah.
The other
the left centre for Penrith. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So true. So true. So, at the very least, in the game right now, he's easily the best interceptor, and that is something that actually can really scare attacks and sevens because all of a sudden, not only do you have to worry about players jamming in, players sliding off, players doing whatever, then you have to worry about a friggin' intercept as well. It is a weapon to have in defence.
Yeah, and you would imagine every single ball player knows where he is at all times. You'd think about it all week, but he's just too good at it. It is very similar to what Gerds used to do, and similar to Gerds. Gerds used to do it to Freddie, to Jelly, to Brett Kamala. He used to do it to all of them. He was an absolute he used to go to Origin and take 2.
Yeah,
freak.
Yeah,
just game awareness, isn't it? Being able to read what's coming at you. You said, Cam, the best thing about it was that he had the bloke on his inside covered if he played short.
Mate, it's the amount of big plays he makes, it is unbelievable. Another bloke as well that I think that this is really key as to why Penrith are so good. It's not like he had his best game of his career, but there was a moment where, I don't know who put the grubber through, it might have been... Anyway, the 9 for Penrith put a grubber through. Wasn't planned, wasn't pre-anything, and Leota is chasing, full ball to get it. And I just think that, that's why they're great. Your front rower that's your dog that gets through all the tough work, a non-planned kick, and he somehow wins the race to it. That's why they're great. That's why they do what they do, because they fucking compete on every single play all the time.
Mate, I had a question on my Instagram the other day that I had a look at that was, someone said to me, do you think Ivan Cleary would be as successful if he was at another club? I sort of think it's an argument that I think a lot of people would say, a lot of people that are anti-Penrith would say, it's just because he's at that club and they've got those guns. And you've made this point before, but I went back to Ivan Cleary's first ever game as coach of the Penrith Panthers, right? Fullback was Dylan Edwards. He was 30 games into his career. The wingers were Mansell and DWZ. Both have left. The centres were Dean Vare and Wonga Blake. Both have left. The 5'8" was James Maloney, who has since left. So from that entire backline, all he's got left from, and this wasn't 10 years ago, this was 2019, is Edwards and Nathan Cleary, who are both now Clive Churchill medalists. So two that he's held on to. You get to the forward pack, James Tarmo, who's gone. Wade Egan, who's gone. Moses Leota, who is still there. Harm, Saleh, and Isaiah Yeo were the edges. So not only has he turned Isaiah Yeo into a 13, he's turned him into the best 13. And then Fisher Harris was at 13 in that game. His bench was Regan Campbell-Gillard, Jack Hetherington, Tyrell Fulmayano, and Jerome Luai. So from that side, only 5 of them are still there.
Yeah, wow.
You think about all the guys that have left in that time as well, between Critter, Kickow, Burton, all these guys that he's brought through and made them what they are, Appy. It is unbelievable. And that's only 2019. That's only 5 years ago.
Yeah. And to be really clear, Edwards was, I wouldn't say he was lucky to be playing first grade, but I reckon 15 out of the 16 coaches would have been looking for a fullback to replace Edwards at that stage of his career.
Penrith fans were gunning for his head early on because he couldn't catch a ball.
Absolutely.
Could you imagine back then if you would have taken that back line and said Edwards, Mansell, Dean Vare, Wonga Blake, DWZ, who's the one that's going to be here in 5 years' time? I reckon Edwards would have been your last guess.
I would argue, and I say this out of respect for how incredibly mentally tough he's been, I would argue he's got the least natural talent out of all those boys, but he's clearly got the most ticker, and fitness-wise, his ability to repeat efforts are second to maybe only Teddy.
I'd completely agree. Yep.
And that's a testament to any young footballer out there that it's not always about talent. It's about fucking having to dig and working hard.
And on top of that, you think about, the 5 years leading up to this, you could only win a comp if you had the big three or if you had James fucking Maloney. Yeah. He lost James Maloney and then went to potentially 4 grand finals in a row now.
Yeah, so potentially 4 grand finals. And, we have to remember, even when they were in their first grand final, no one had Dylan Edwards in their top tier fullbacks. He was not considered a top tier fullback. So it's amazing what Ivan's done. And look, they'll move the goalposts and they say, yeah, that's just because of the development systems that have been put in place. Yeah, guess who was the coach when those development systems were getting put in place? He went away for a year or so and then he came back. It was Ivan Cleary.
Like, have a look at those 6 guys that are still in the team. Dylan Edwards is a Clive Churchill medalist. Nathan Cleary is a Clive Churchill medalist. Mosley Otter might be the most underrated front row forward in rugby league. James Fisher-Harris is arguably the best front row forward in rugby league. Isaiah Yeo is arguably the best lock forward in rugby league. And then Jerome Luai.
Yep.
Who's done what he's done with Samoa. He's been to 3 grand finals. He's won 2 prems. Like, it's incredible.
And I'd argue Moses Leota is the best defensive front row in the game.
Yeah,
that grand final, he was snapping blokes.
And what's the thing you notice with all those guys come finals time? They go to another level.
Yeah, yep. And it's, Ivan Cleary, he went away for 1 year, essentially, came back. So he has been, at the club since 2019, did you say, 18?
He's returned in 19.
19, and before that he was, 2014 or something?
Yeah. So just on top of that, like, the original question was, can he be successful anywhere else? 2018, the Tigers finished 9th. That's their best finish.
Yeah. Yep. And people like to go, he signed all these, players that were, at the end of their career, but he was getting the best out of them.
Yeah.
And go even further back, the most success the Warriors had, well, not the most, because I know 2001 or whatever, but the Warriors were making finals under Ivan Cleary.
They haven't been to the finals since Ivan Cleary.
Yes.
This will be the first time they've gone to finals since 2011 when he was the coach.
Well, their best finish is 2 grand finals, 02 and 11, and he was 11. So he was at Penrith from 2012 to 2015. Then he went to the Tigers for 2 years. Then he went back to Penrith in 19.
Yeah. So like that 2012 to 15, that's when all those young boys would have been in the juniors, coming through him saying, "Yep, this guy's good." So he's incredible.
And obviously he would have been watching them week in, week out because of Nathan as well.
Mm-hmm. Another shout out to Taruva. Jeez, I'm such a fan of Taruva. He is so. I just love how you're almost like waiting for him to make an error under a high ball or when he carries the ball, because he, a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, sometimes when you're playing NRL, you carry the ball with less vigor and venom because you don't want to drop it. So instead of going to the line fucking fighting for everything because you're worried that it'll get stripped or you'll drop it. Whereas Taruva, he's fighting for every metre all the time. On the weekend, 22 runs, 256 metres, 7 tackle breaks, a line break, and just outstanding. And he's still eligible for Rookie of the Year. No one even thinks about that. And Wing, you could argue Wing isn't even his position. He's a fullback. Yeah. Great stuff. Anyway, anything else to say on the Panthers, boys?
No.
Now, on to the Sharkies defeating the Titans. Really, really good win for the Sharkies. I understand, the Titans have been a bit hit or miss, but I'm just so happy for the Sharkies because, as a Broncos fan, I experienced last year when you fall out of the 8, it's just so disappointing. You'd almost rather not be in the 8 to a degree. And to see the Sharkies just find some fight and honestly channeling their inner Craig Fitzgibbon. This was Fitzgibbon was all about, just fight until the death. Anyone that's ever played with Fitzy will tell you that's what he was about. He never, ever gave up. And that's what the Sharkies are doing. And this will put them in good stead. Now, I get that you want to go, well, the Titans aren't a top 8 side. Will they still beat the Rabbitohs, who were in the top 8 at the time, correct? Now, other Rabbitohs playing as well. Look, you could look for all the reasons why this isn't a good thing.
Beat the Broncos?
They beat the Broncos?
They did, didn't they? Not that long ago. Was it? Or am I making things up?
I don't think they beat Broncos.
I think you're talking shit, Tim.
Yeah, your anti-Broncos rhetoric is coming out again, mate. Trying to fake news your way out of this one.
I am a journalist. What was this?
At the end of the day...
Titans beat the Broncos, round 17, 18,
Titans
12.
beat the Broncos. I
Yeah.
thought you said Sharkies beat the Broncos.
Right. No. I was like, not that crazy, am I?
At the end of the day, Sharks are fighting and they're staying in the 8. And I'm telling you, there's a few other clubs outside the 8 right now that would kill to be in the 8. So you can look for all the reasons why this isn't good. I think it's great. Their defence has definitely shored up. I think that Wade Graham being put on that edge is really, really just steady things for him. And the confidence they're going to get out of this is outstanding. And I do believe if they can make the 8, they're a team you don't want to play in the finals, because if they rock up and get it right, you're fucked, because they can score points. If they can rock up and just give you 80 minutes of the best defense of their season, it's going to be the hardest game of your life. So I'm stoked for the Sharkies.
So am I. I think this weekend coming is the most important game of their season. They're versing the Cowboys up there off a bye. I hope the Sharks have turned a corner the last few weeks. I get what you're saying with the Titans, and I know you'll have the same viewpoint as me. At the end of the day, the Sharks only play who they're pinned up against. They can't play Penrith last week. They have to play who they're playing. They did what they had to do. They played well. I can't wait to watch this Cowboys game.
Huge game.
Yeah.
This is a finals game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's wild. I was just having a look at sports bets odds for this season. Penrith's at $2.40. Brisbane's at $4.50. The Warriors are third. They're at $13. The Cowboys are ninth. They're at $13.
Wow.
It's wild. The Sharks are fifth. They're at $76. The Raiders are sixth. They're at $91. So the Raiders in 6 are at $91. The Cowboys in 9th are at $13.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
The Sharks at 76
Is insane.
is that's a lot. For a side that we know on their day, as you said, I shouldn't say can beat anyone because they hardly beat a top 8 side, but we know there's a good football side in there.
There's a good football side in
That's
them.
huge.
Man,
odds.
I got them at $19 10 weeks ago and sent a text to a mate going, how good's this? 76s is unbelievable.
Wow.
Because, if they could just get in the finals, it's 4 games of rugby league. You just don't know what can happen in a 4-game run. Look at the Rabbitohs. Sorry, Matty. But there was a 4-game run in the middle of the season where we thought Rabbitohs are favourites to win the comp.
Well, mate, the Rabbitohs are at $7.50. They're in 8th.
Jeez.
Wow. So really happy for the Sharks. Happy for Nico as well, just righting the ship. He looks like he's getting back to his good form. What do you think of this match, Guru?
Yeah, I can't read this Sharks side to save myself. That's what I'm so excited for this weekend, because it's a proper game, a good team coming off a bye to tell us where the Sharkies are actually at. And I'm so hesitant to say anything on them.
I'm of the mindset of just enjoy it. You can sit here and be like, not that you are, but fans, you can sit here and be like, we haven't been a top 8 side, or, Rabbitohs weren't going. You can look for all the reasons to worry about why your next game is going to be the game that you don't play well. But you're 2 on the trot, you're still in the 8. Whatever happens, happens. But right now, there's definitely been improvement. They were outstanding against the Rabbitohs. I know the Rabbitohs weren't great. They were outstanding against the Titans. Take the win where you can get them. Enjoy it.
I mean, mate, 4 weeks ago, I thought they were going to miss the 8. And
I 100% agree. I thought they were done.
And now I don't know where they finished, but I think they do make the 8 now off the back of those 2 games.
They're 5th.
Yeah.
And so they're 1 win outside the 8. Storm, 32 points.
1 win outside the 4.
Sorry, 4, apologies. And they have points difference 110.
They've only 1 win inside the 8, though, as well. Yeah.
The Raiders play the Sharks round 27 at Shark Park. Obviously plenty to play out, but could be a game for a home final.
Yeah. Could be a game to stay in the 8 as well.
And
Could be a game to stay in the 8.
And it's the last game of the season.
Yeah.
It's Sunday, the last Sunday game.
Holy.
There's going to be something riding on it.
Yeah.
Someone to make the 8 or the 4 or the home. There's going to be something good going on with it.
Could they potentially play each other 2 weeks in a row? Yeah, there's a good chance they could.
For sure.
Could you imagine if they made the 4? Timmy, what do you think of the game, mate?
I think with the Sharkies, the 2 things we've had big issues with this season and have been clear their downfalls have been defence. As we know, so we had every week conceded 6 points. There were a big busting Tino for Malawi try. And the completions, completed 83%. And we know with how expansive they play, using the ball, you're going to get lower completions. And we've sort of said that with the way they play, if they can manage to complete, say, 80+%, geez, they'll take some beating. Well, they did that, 136-6. On the Titans, they were disappointing in this one. Maybe playing the majority of last week with 12 blokes just sort of came back to bite them in this one. I know they conceded early, but ran out of steam. Might have been gashed from last week. But, yeah, for the Sharkies, it's, as you said, Campy, if nothing else, enjoy watching them because they're an exciting side.
Exciting side. You're currently sitting 5th. You're in the 8. If you worry about next week wigging out about, we might fall out, you're not even going to enjoy your footy, So, now, in regards to players, Jesse Ramian, I think he's been outstanding 2 weeks. I've been really impressed with Talakai's turnaround the last 2 weeks defensively. Now it's going to be interesting when we see them against the top-tier attacks. But I do believe Wade Graham has just brought a bit of just confidence in the decision-making. And I think that sometimes it's important to have that older head there. Not necessarily, does he make the right decision all the time? Maybe not, but you have confidence as a rookie just to follow him. Whatever he does,
That's
I do.
3 weeks in a row. We've got now to growing sample size. They got pumped by Penrith, what we spoke about last week. Graham's edge, the poor left edge of the Sharkies has been it's been horrible all year. 3 really good weeks in a row. They didn't concede in this one either. If they have got on top of that and this becomes a thing, like it just changes everything for the Sharks.
Yeah, and it's once again proving that, you can have the best young players ever, but sometimes you just need a battler. He's not going to run for 150 metres and have 10 tackle breaks, but he knows the game and he knows how to defend. And at the moment, it seems like Wade Graham, at the moment, is really shoring up that side.
I think it's a really key thing you spoke about, just having someone on that edge that you trust them to make the decision. Like Felice Kafusi's very similar. Not the fastest guy laterally when you watch him. Like I always think, he's going to get beat here, he's going to get done. It just never does.
Yeah.
I'm getting that vibe with Wade. And to be honest with you, 5 weeks ago, when I thought Teague Wilton, there had to be a change there, I wasn't sure if Wade Graham was going to be the answer.
Yeah, I agree.
But he certainly has been. He's been very good.
Yeah, and it's about making a decision right or wrong rather than thinking I know better than that guy inside me sometimes. Yeah. And I think that whole edge is like, even if I disagree with Wade Graham's decision defensively, he's an experienced veteran. I do what he says, he's a leader. Whereas when you have a young fella in there, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I know, I've played more footy than him. Like, I'll come in and do this and I'll sort this out myself. Whereas everything always has to come off the floor.
And I think that was a big problem for the entire season. Essentially, whenever there was a try down the left edge, they all looked at each other like, we just had no idea.
Yeah.
Like we had no plan there whatsoever. You're right. At least now they make a decision. They go, if it doesn't work, so be it.
Yep.
But they're all in.
Yeah. And it's easy as well to pinpoint and go, Wado, like, this is your edge, mate. Like, I don't care if it was Mulatalo that screamed in and made the wrong call. You're responsible for it. And there's a freeing, feel as an edge, as an outside back, when you have a senior player inside you, because you go, look, I just do what you say and that's it. I don't have to think. I just do whatever you say. And I think that you're starting to see that. No, look, it's a very small sample size. It could completely change again. But at the very least, they've looked way better than they have.
And the flow-on effect of just the confidence and shoring up that edge defensively. Braden Trindle's been outstanding a few weeks in a row.
Been great.
Sifa Talakai, a few of those tip-ons for the Mulitalo tries and a few great finishes from Mulitalo. The whole edge just looks suddenly so high on confidence. Yeah. And with the edge shoring up defensively, there's less concern about Sifa playing at centre because you know what he brings in attack. Massive amounts. But when there was the defensive issues, he got dropped for it. And they thought, where's he going to play? Is he going to come on as a forward? What are they going to do? If they can keep this up, well, that doesn't become an issue. So,
and if I have to be hypercritical, like I did call for it earlier in the season to bring Trindle in to give him more time. And so it's just a matter of like, can he get enough games under his belt if they do make finals footy to be confident that, he can be the guy to do what he needs to do. It looks like it is. Like he's been really good. He was outstanding on the weekend. But imagine Trindle and how far this edge would have been along if they made that decision 3 weeks earlier. Now, it's easy to say in hindsight. That's being hypercritical. They've made the right call and it seems to be working. So, just focus on that.
And, hopefully they can go up to North Queensland and put on a good performance this week and then go into finals and, really compete. And if they do, how good is it for Craig Fitzgibbon? Because he was at a real crossroads 3 weeks ago.
100%.
A real crossroads that could have gone from a guy that we're all talking coach of the year and all this stuff last year to 3 weeks ago it was, geez, is he willing to make a tough call? Is he willing to adjust? Is he willing? Or he's done all these things and hopefully he has turned them around because no one deserves it more than Fitzy.
Well, if he does turn it around, let's say they make the finals and they get to prelim, I'd say that's a successful year. Or second week, I'd say, yep, I'm okay with that if I was a Sharkies fan. He gets the best of both worlds because what he does is he's shown, guys, I'll be loyal to you to the death, till the detriment of myself, but I will also make that call. So there's this message that's sent to the entire squad that he's got their back, but he'll only go so far. Whereas if he had made that cut real soon, players may have been long-term like, he's not loyal and okay, I had a couple of bad games and I just got dropped. Now it's setting a standard of like, you guys kind of, like the playing group kind of owe Craig Fitzgibbon. On top of that, Wade Graham, I'm sure he wouldn't have done this for this reason, but if they ever needed a reason to galvanise, Wade Graham retiring, that's going to get the boys together. He is such a locker room bloke. Like, I think every team has about 2 or 3. Not every player is a locker room guy. They can be good blokes, but not a locker room guy. Wade Graham's a locker room player. Like, he really is. You can ask anyone in Origin. You can ask anyone at Sharkies. Even when he's at Penrith, he is an absolute legend. So, Connor Tracy's been outstanding at the back. You know, I've got to say, like, I thought he offers something different to Will Kennedy, and I still think Will Kennedy is, you know, probably the best choice at fullback at the moment. But what Connor Tracy does offer in his ability to have, you know, 20-plus carries and get through a lot of work, and he's decent at ball playing as well. It's different, but it's pretty bloody good. Pretty bloody good.
I was just having a look. Funnily enough, when Cronulla went out last year, they lost to the Cowboys in South Sydney, didn't they? In straight sets.
Yes.
You know, in 2015, they went out in straight sets. They played South Sydney and then into the Cowboys.
Wow.
Oh no, they didn't go. Sorry. They beat South Sydney in week 1, but then they lost to the Cowboys. So even if you go back to the years leading up to 2016, they sort of did like they won the first week and they won 2 games and they sort of led up to it. So I think it's going to be big for Cronulla to win a finals game this year.
Yeah, that Doggies and Tigers fans, be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah, so I'm happy for the Sharkies. As long as they make finals footy, I know it's not as good as last year because they finished bloody second, which is crazy to think. I still think, look, these things take time to build. I think that Fitzgibbon as a coach is going to be so much better for this. It's not easy, but it's, you know, you don't find out who you are as a coach until you go through this kind of stuff. And he's gone through it now. He's made the decisions, made the changes. He also understands that, like, you can be the golden child in year 1, and then year 2, all of a sudden, you're the fucking worst coach in the world. He'll learn so much from this season.
Yeah, and I think Craig Fitzgibbon's got serious potential to be, you know, coaching for another 20, 30 years.
Easy. I'll be shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's a leader of men, Craig Fitzgibbon, in my opinion. It's the only thing that I could ever see him needing is, like, just make. Let's say they struggle again. I just think it would he just needs to change the team around him a little bit. But I believe coaches usually just need to be a leader of men. I think the X's and O's can be handled by guys that's their specialty.
Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, like even Bellamy. Bellamy is a bit more X's and O's, but he's a leader of men. He's almost a father figure to a lot of these kids, a lot of these players coming through. So yeah, great win for the Sharkies. Onto the Titans. Look, I know disappointing. I know they were incredible last week. I agree. I think they were a little bit tired from last week. I've seen enough from the Titans this year to be excited for them next year.
Yeah, so have I. And as you said, mate, like when you have to play 65 minutes against a top 4 team with 12 players and the next week you have to go to Shark Park, doesn't get much tougher than that.
Against a desperate
Friday,
club.
6 p.m, reasonably short turnaround. So far from ideal, especially a Shark side starting to hit some form. So I agree, man. I know it probably sounds a bit repetitive to Titans fans and whatnot, but I do think they are heading in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you lost the game, but you got the biggest win by far and away before kickoff, locking up those 2 boys for the future.
And look, it's a risk, obviously, 10-year deal, and I think it's like a 5-year deal or whatever. But unless Tino gets injured, or let's just assume he plays what we think he's going to play, when you get into that 5th or 6th year, he's going to be on like the next salary cap upgrade. He's going to be a bargain for how much. So I know it's a risk, and I would say the Taumalolo risk has paid off for the Cowboys, and I think this will pay off for the Titans
I think
as well.
as well, like over a 10-year deal, like with the way the salary cap's going up, it could move up 3 times in that 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you could be looking here in year 6 and 7 going, what a deal.
And also, like, he's such a good player that he's telling me that, let's say it's just not working out, there aren't clubs that are going to pick him up and say, all right, we'll pay 800, you pay 2.
You've also locked in 2 guys who are going to be in Queensland camp for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
You'll attract more players off the back of these 2.
And so it is very forward heavy. You're losing using a lot of your cap on your forwards. But when you're a club like this, you need to hold on to your origin, the top tier players. Because if you don't hold on to them, it's just so hard to recruit.
And they're also quite unique as well. Like, don't generally love the forwards long-term deals, especially at such substantial money, but they're also such a huge part of their attack, those 2. Fafita in particular, where, he's a line running, edge back rower, but so much of their attack comes off him. So he adds a lot more than just being another gun forward.
Yeah. Disappointing week for the Titans, but I've seen enough this year to say I'm very excited for them moving forward.
We might see next week. So Kieran Foran got injured. If he's out, AJ Brimson is still in doubt to come back. We could see Tommy Weaver debut.
That'll be exciting.
Could happen. He was on the extended last week, and having a bit of a look through, I think that's probably their next play.
That's for listeners. He's the Australian schoolboys half gun.
Yep. Yeah, very talented. You've also got Kinney, who was on the bench, who
He's a gun too.
they could go with. But yeah, you're going to see someone talented come in there. I want to give a little shout out to Jermaine Jolliffe. I don't know where the hell he has been for the last few months, but I really like him as a front row forward.
Yeah.
A really just value guy. He'll just do a job every single week. I love him.
That offload he threw for the Tino try was brilliant. There were 2 or 3 blokes on him, snuck it away. It was great.
Also, I will say, obviously watching the Broncos on the weekend, Palacia arriving at the Titans. Jeez, that's a good front row rotation. Moe, Tino, Palacia.
Flegler?
Dolphins.
Oh, Dolphins. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Titans.
Titans,
Palacia.
sorry.
It's gone under the radar because we've lost Flegler and Herbie. But Palacia signed quite a while ago for the Titans. He's a big body. He's playing outstanding for the Broncos. A rotation with him and Tino, that's when you do put Tino at 13. I like Tino as a front row, but maybe you do, and you start with Palacia and Moe, far out. So Titans fans, get excited because I think Palacia is going to be outstanding.
I'm getting my bottom 8 Queensland teams confused. Sorry, mate.
Wow, very spiteful from a Roosters fan, mate. Okay, before we get in the next game, huge game on Thursday, 9 now, with Cowboys versus Sharks, which has had huge impact on the top 8. Then we have Eels versus Roosters, who are both outside the 8, but the chances of still making it. Then on Sunday, we have Raiders up against the Doggies. That's on 9 now. Download the app, guys. Best commentary team. Hearing Billy Slater commentate is one of the greatest pastimes ever. He is just... There's nothing... Billy can do no wrong. And then obviously...
Did occasionally.
Wouldn't hate it.
And then you've obviously got the great Cameron Smith. You've got Joey, Freddie, best commentary around. You've got the great Fatty. It is so, so good. So download the 9 app, listen to it now, or you can watch it on your web browser. Let's get into it. Broncos defeat the Eels 54-10. Yeah, really, really good game. You're obviously really impressed with...
We might just give Campy the floor. He just talked to himself for 45 minutes. We'll go to Lou, get a coffee.
Listen, in the coach's box, we made subs at certain times that really impacted the game. I was telling Kevy, look, you want to hear me tactics? I'll tell Kevy before the game.
I would like to hear from you what's something you learnt from being in the coach's box, like as far as what's something that if you can say, what's something you saw that maybe you didn't expect or...
really well balanced. So they just really complement each other so well, and they offer a lot of different things. So that wasn't not expected because they're going so well. Another thing that I was just so impressed at, and I just loved watching, and obviously it's Kevy Walters, but the amount of times he was just calling out numbers immediately. Before the play the ball had even, they'd finished a tackle, he'd be going 3, 4, 3, knowing which side to go, or he'd be gone wrong side, and they had gone the wrong side.
Cool.
He is just so switched on at picking numbers as it's happening, and rightly so. It's Kevin Walters we're talking about here. It's bloody, 4 or 5 premierships. It was just an incredible experience, to be honest. Really good.
Because I think a lot of people underappreciate Kevin Walters as a footballer because he came along in the Lachie, Joey, John sort of era that people forget. He was a guy that won all the comps.
Yeah, he arrived just before him.
Yeah,
and as they came into the young fellas coming through,
he's just so, and the game changed so much during the period of time he was playing. And he was still able to win a comp across 10 years, an incredible player, Kevin.
Yeah. And you think about Alfie as well, whereas Kevy, so many premierships. So that was a really impressive thing. Just hearing him just go, but just nailing it every time. And every time they went the wrong way, he'd already called that it was the wrong way. It was just, and it's not like he was sitting there yelling or anything. He was just 4, 3, 4, so good.
Did he turn to you at any point and ask anything?
Well, before the game, I said, Kevy, do you want my advice? And he said, I said, yeah, Campy, that's why I brought you up here. I said, listen, Payne Haas is a good runner of the ball and Reynolds good kicker. He said, thanks for that, Campy.
Billy Moser, could be anything.
No, it was a great experience. It was really good just to be in there with the boys. I will say, without putting too much pressure on the boys, it definitely a special group. It felt very similar to when I was with the squad 2006. Different, obviously, because 2006, I think they were a little bit older than this current crop, but just confident, and almost before heading out, there wasn't much yipping and yahooing or hyping each other up. It was very confident, even at halftime. No needing to hype each other up. It was just very calm, collected. This is what we need to do. So. Really, really, and just a great bunch of young lads. Really, really cool. I'll tell you what was special is seeing Glenn Lazarus and Payne Haas in the same room, and Payne's 100th game. That was special because you're just looking across going far out like that. They're so similar in regards to like how much they can impact the team. I understand Lazo, has done more, but they're both great.
Does Paddy Carrigan hold a room as much as I expect him to?
Yeah, definitely. They're all mates. There's no really. It was really, really cool to see. So, it was great. Made me scull a beer, which fucking wasn't ready for that. Wasn't mentally prepared.
Watch out.
Would have taken you 5 minutes.
Mate, nearly did. Nearly passed out.
Take the shirt off? Or?
No, and I thought I was going to get away with it because Alfie was giving out awards. His awards are a can of beer to skull. And so he, got some, got Lazo, got the boy, and then all the boys are fucking getting up, and then like they stopped, and then like, oh, and we've also got one of the greatest wingers of all time, obviously taking the piss, and then I had to fucking scull a beer and. Yeah, nearly passed out. This old fella doesn't have it anymore, that's for sure.
Been hungover for 3 days.
Oh, man. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm happy for the club. It seems like a really good vibe, and geez, they're just so big and athletic, far out. I forgot how fucking big footy players are. Jesus Christ. And also just a bunch of young lads, like so respectful. So yeah, it was just a great time. Let's get to the game though. 54-10. I was more impressed. The 54 is great. I was more impressed with the first 20 minutes. They had all the field position against them. Para Eels. Moses did a really good job of coming down short sides, kicking, winning the field position battle. And the Broncos did not blink. Once again, absorb pressure, and then boom, length of the field tries. I think their attack is the best in the competition to watch, but it's actually their defence that's bloody impressive. It's a special group. It really is. It's so good to watch. What did you got, boys, think of the game?
Yeah, I loved it, mate. Brisbane, 9 tries in the last 60 minutes, and they only conceded 2 for the entire game. This is against Parramatta and their red-hot attack. So Brisbane... it's funny, Kevin. I did a thing a few weeks ago, like contenders on my podcast, and the amount of people saying that they thought Brisbane was going to fall out of it again and fall off the edge. I just don't understand how. And I know I didn't see it coming at all last year, but I think they are the proper real deal this year.
Yeah. Nah, I believe they are too. As I said, I saw a lot of similarities to Broncos 2006. Like, when I was there, they just had this quiet confidence. And we've spoken about it before. To other people, it would be considered arrogance. And I don't think the Broncos, this current crop, are arrogant at all. And they're different because it's a new generation. So they're, next generation is obviously different. But they just are quietly confident. And there's an expectation of like, this is what is expected. We don't need to yip and yahoo and get each other up for the game or whatever. This is the way we play. This is the Broncos way. And Kevy's just done an incredible job at that. And I think that, I know I was up there and everyone go, oh, you're just saying that because you're up there. But I think he does deserve a massive rap for getting ex-players involved, bringing that culture back to the club. And we're seeing the results of it.
And they're ticking just about every box, aren't they? Like, first and foremost, they're pretty well full strength. Mm-hmm. Pretty well full strength. They've had origin periods and a couple of injuries throughout the year where they've been able to get time under the belt of people. Jesse Arles was essentially the only one out this week. He was suspended, probably come back in for Dean Mariner, who was unreal.
He was unreal.
He was brilliant. So he comes back in there. Like Brendan Piakura, who we've been rapping all season, played 30 minutes and we were like, oh, does he start now? Does Capewell keep his spot? Capewell went berserk and killed it. He goes, no, this is my starting spot. You've got to win it off me and you haven't done it yet. Yep. That's nothing because of what Piakura's done. He's been great. Just everything is shaping up for them. They've got the bye this week, a couple of rounds leading into the final, so they'll get another freshen up. They were able to play Payne Haas for a few minutes because they had such a lead. They've got the opportunity.
Flegler, 25 minutes. Payne Haas, 53 minutes. Carrigan, 57 minutes.
Yeah.
And so you look at that and you go, far out. Like, they genuinely let their young fellas have a crack, stay out there for longer. Everything is going right. And I think that the coaching staff, I think that the admin, everyone deserves a massive rap for getting this club back to where I personally believe it belongs, and back to where it should be, to be honest. We were a one club town, a one club state for a long time. Then we were a one town team for a long time, and we got all the resources. We should be at the top of the table. Anything less is just not good enough, in my opinion. But yeah, let's get to some performances. I thought Dean Mariner, was outstanding. And actually seeing him in person, he's a bit bigger than I thought he was. And he's still going to fill out. So he has a massive future, super quick, strong in contact.
Play him or Jesse Arthurs next week.
Maybe Jesse, just because he's got more experience, maybe, and he was ahead at the start of the year. But I think heading into off season, I think it's an even battle heading into the new year
For that centre spot?
Well, yeah, for that centre spot, yeah, because Dean I think can play
I reckon
centre.
Mariner will get it next
Yeah,
year.
but I think it's an even battle for sure. Herbie Farnworth, once again, like, mate, he's a superstar. He is just so good. You know, he's just improved. I think like a couple of years ago, he was one of our best, but it was because he just worked his ass off. Now he's getting to the point where he's truly impacting games in a really positive light. Ezra Mam, like, I mean, who didn't play well? That's really the question. It was really good to see Adam Reynolds' kicking game in person. Like, I do believe for fans, League is a good game to watch on TV because you don't really, as a fan, need to see everything. But going out to a ground and watching the kicking game of some of the best kickers, Moses and Reynolds, it's something special.
You get to see the touch.
Yep. And the amount of times, we're in the box, coaching staff was in the box.
Still pinching him.
Still feels weird. And we were, great kick, Reno. Like, to get us out of certain positions.
Did you know you were going to be in the box when you arrived? Or
No, we just kind of said, we didn't really, he just kind of said, come up and see the boys and that. There wasn't really that much thought put into it. Yeah, but to see it in person, really good. Another guy, I mean, look, I'm speaking about everyone, but another guy is Billy Walters. Hasn't he improved out of sight this year?
Mariners played centre all year in Q Cup.
Yeah, and he's fucking quick as anything. Yeah, so it was just, the main thing that I was impressed was just their defence. Like, they were so ruthless. Who stood out for you guys for the Broncos?
Mate, I want to give Kurt Capewell a shout out.
Oh, mate.
That was it's one of his best games I've seen him play in a long time. And I think it was only a few weeks ago we were saying maybe goes to the middle.
Yeah, I honestly
Still on
thought
the
that.
edge, struggling and whatnot. I thought he was amazing in this game. He was very impressive. Probably the best game I've seen him play since he kicked that field goal. Was that round 1 last year? That was wild.
I reckon it's his best game in Broncos colours.
And just the timing of it all, as we said, because he's got competition for that spot. Because he was terrific last week as well.
Yep. Yeah, great to see Paddy in person too, playing. Really good to see him get through, like when he does the tough carries and that. Obviously, Payne Haas is just another beast. Adam Reynolds, I thought he was outstanding. Ezra Mam, Reece Walsh is funny. I hope I'm allowed to say this. We're in the box, and we're like, all right, Reece, just hold it. Please just hold it. And then he throws that massive cutout ball for us to score, and we're like, okay. But to Reece's credit, like, we speak about here all the time on his potential, how incredible he is. He's a superstar. He's absolutely all those things. But like the first thing when he come off and we just had a chat, he's like, oh, mate, 7, like too many errors. So he's aware of it.
Yeah. Isn't it such a Reece Walsh stat line? A try, 2 line breaks, 4 line break assists, a try assist, 4 tackle breaks, a 40-20, 4 errors.
Mate, it is. As he matures and fine-tune it, we've been over it a million times.
I think he's shown in Origin, though, that maturity is there already.
And it's also like Nico Hines gets hammered a bit for having a lot of errors. When you have that much involvement in attack and you're throwing these long cutout balls, all sorts of things, you're going to get errors.
Yeah.
Like it's just...
Yeah, absolutely. And as well as like, it's one thing to like try a lot of things, but Reece Walsh actually nails them.
Yeah.
If he was trying a lot of things and making those errors, but if you're going to have like 4 line break assists impacting the game that much, now, perfect world, you wouldn't have those. But so, yeah, it was so good to see. So good to see all the boys. Such a good young group. And I personally believe if they win the premiership this year, I actually think it's a bigger deal than the 2006 premiership because 2006 we had that 4 or 5 year lull, but it came off the back of greatness, like, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Whereas this team is coming off the back of wooden spoon all the way to maybe. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be in a grand final. They can't get ahead of themselves. And I honestly don't think they are. So, yeah, really exciting.
It will be interesting, though, if they do manage to win it this year, comparing it to 2006, because that 06 premiership, fuck, that had a storyline to it.
Oh,
The amount of
massively.
moves and everything. Wayne, maybe you're right. Wooden spoon to Prem in 2 years?
Yeah,
Would be
2 years.
unbelievable.
I just think that take nothing away from 2006. We were the underdogs, all these different, Hodgie to the back, Kay on the wing, debut year for Darius Boyd, Barrow to 9, like amazing stuff. The Bulldogs win in the semi-final, the prelim, whatever it was. Storm were massive favourites. Incredible win. But I just think spoon to Prems, without any immortals currently.
Especially if I personally think the way the ladder's lined up, if you're going to win it, I think you're going to have to beat Penrith in a grand final at the moment, which would be...
That's the icing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the one.
They got a long way.
Long way to go,
long way. And that's the one thing they can't afford is to get ahead of themselves. But I love the fact they put in this performance before a bye. It shows you that they didn't have their, jeans packed before their boots. And yeah, just a bunch of legends. Yeah, mate, and it's fucking true. It used to happen all the time. But yeah, really interesting. Like the Payne Haas, obviously we've got to talk about the Payne Haas situation in regards to him re-signing. Oh, look, I'd be surprised if he left. I just seeing him amongst the boys, like they love him. They love him. Like he is so tight with that crew. Be very surprised if he goes. But in saying that, he's earned the right to do what he wants, in my opinion. He really has.
I personally think it'd be a silly decision for Payne to leave. I think he's on the edge of something really special at a very special club.
Yeah.
He can be the face of that.
He was literally there from spoon to prem.
Yep, he was picking up the spoons at the training field. To potentially lifting a combo, yeah.
Now, onto the Eels. Don't want to stay on too long. People were expecting a bloody 2-hour... How long was that? Not too long? I legit was trying to move her on.
That was 14 minutes.
That's all right. Come on, guys.
That is a minor miracle.
We haven't spoken about Kobe Hetherington yet.
Mate, he's great. I love watching. Indeed. Kobe proves... obviously, Jake Travois proves it as well.
Guru. Why fuel the fire? We were almost there.
Kobe, I love his tackling techniques. Proves that he can chop through the middle still and get a good. But you've got to be really good at it. Now onto the Eels. It doesn't matter how you splice it. I know they're missing players, but really, really disappointing performance. Especially they came out to play so well. That first 20, dominate field position, just couldn't really fire the final shot. I said it a few weeks ago, but they're just not the same team as last year. They don't have the punch that they had last year. And that bench rotation that they had, even, let's say you take out Papali'i, you take out Marnie, just those guys a bit below. Now, I understand people have said, well, they got offered such big contracts at other clubs like Neokota at the Warriors. But this is what separates the really good clubs from the just good clubs, is they have plans in place that if we're going to lose 3 of our best, we keep that, undercurrent of players. And that's the one thing you want to avoid as a top tier club is losing all your best players essentially in 1 year. Even the Storm are still struggling from losing their forward pack in 2 or 3 years. Now they're still at the top of the table, but you'd have to say their forward pack is not as strong as it was maybe in yesteryear. And so that's where I think the Eels have maybe dropped the ball a little bit. They haven't prepared properly for losing all those players in 1 year because they just don't look like anywhere near the side they were.
And you know what? I agree with you. They haven't prepared as well as they could have, and they've still got the best out of Bryce. They've got the best out of Hopgood, and they still seemingly were unprepared for it. I think as well the last few weeks have shown, and he's a guy that I constantly sleep on just how good he is. Regan Campbell-Gillard.
Mate, it's so important.
He's left such a hole in that side, it's not even funny.
Because Junior Bolo just has a massive target on his chest then.
Yep.
As soon, because you could
the
see
1-2 punch.
Yeah, you could see the Broncos just going, yes, like hunting Junior, just hunting him. They did it against the Roosters as well. They just hunted their big dog. And so when that happens with Junior, that he's a human. There's only so much you can do. But if you have RCG coming up behind it, very hard to stop that 1-2 punch. Leota and Fisher-Harris do it so well.
Perfectly.
Haas, Carrigan, Flegler, they do it so well. So Mitchell Moses out. Their season's done, in my opinion.
Yeah, ladder-wise, they play the Roosters this week, who I think they're both, what are they, 10th and 11th?
Yeah.
Yeah, so... if the Eels can win this game against the Roosters, they have still got a bye to come.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that makes me not want to put the Red Sharpie through them now. But if they lose this game, Red Rover.
Yeah, they're not done purely. They're on 26 in 10th, 2 points out of the 8. Their for and against is plus 21 the difference. So not too bad. Obviously need to win the next 2. Roosters, very winnable game this weekend. Then they have Penrith. They then got the bye in round 27. So they get 2 points there. So they need to win them both, which would put them on 32 points and in top 8 territory. So it can be done. They're going to have to go and beat Penrith.
They definitely can do it. I don't think they will.
They're going to have to beat Penrith in Penrith Thursday night, round 26, which...
Well, the other thing is they're going to have to win those 2 games and they could still miss the 8.
They could still, because the differential's okay, but Cows are just ahead of them, 32 differential, and then there's a bit of a gap to the Rabbitohs Knights. So Raiders negative 120, that's looking good.
And once again, without coming back to it, I mean, Parramatta, start of the season was 0-5.
Yeah, it does make for a
Costly.
makes for a corker of a Penrith game. If they do knock off the Roosters this weekend, going into that bye, knowing that they have to knock off Penrith, that'll be an epic game.
Yeah.
But
I just don't. They definitely can, for sure. Just don't know if they can win.
RCG
both
back
games.
this week, Sevo back, but Moses out.
Like, if
the
Moses
Penrith
was
game
still...
out?
Sorry?
It's at Penrith,
It's
isn't
at
it?
Penrith.
Yeah.
Sean Lane potentially back this week, probably the week after, but yeah,
If Moses was still in the side, I would give them... I still would say I don't think they're going to make it, but I would give them way more of a chance. I just don't know how they're going to replace his kicking game. That's the... Like, how do they... And that was the key when you're watching it in real time. Like, Mitchell Moses' kicking game was phenomenal. Like, he was going set for set with Reynolds. Without that, geez, it's going to be tough. You know, it is an opportunity for Dylan Brown to step up and repay the faith. You know, if he can somehow get them into the 8, leading the team around, wow.
What will they do there? Will they just move Assie back into the halves? Will that be the play?
I think so. And then obviously Sevo's back on the wing, so Russell maybe plays centre with Sevo back on the wing.
Would you go maybe Madison at 6 and put Brown at 7? And just go...
Matto at 6 when he was there.
And poor Davey, another concussion on the weekend, so he'll be out. So provided Sean Lane's not back, they're short an edge back rower again. So Matto, I think, probably starts on the edge and plays 80.
I'm trying to look for some... I mean, look, Brown was dangerous in attack. You know, 165 metres, 17 runs. That's probably their only positive, to be honest, watching that game, was Brown's performance.
Yeah, not much to take from this one.
No.
Yeah, 28 tackles, only 2 misses, a try. But outside of that, just was not a good game for the entire team, which is really disappointing because they started so well with the roster that they have. You know, so they can match it with them. It's just a matter of could they go 80, and unfortunately they couldn't. Anything else to say about the Eels, boys?
Nah, looking forward to them getting RCG and those boys back.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be really interesting where if RCG does come back and they look like the team of last year, you go far. Like RCG's value just goes through the bloody roof.
Through the roof. Yeah.
Okay, on to Rabbitohs defeating the Dragons 26-14. This is just a really hard game to I guess, give much on because, yeah, the Rabbitohs won, but geez Louise. Wasn't pretty. Was nowhere near how good we know they are. Yes, they're missing players, but they've still got a forward pack with Jai Arrow, with Cam Murray, with Damien Cook. Even though it's a win, it's still disappointing in my opinion.
I agree, mate. This game was an absolute stinker. This was a really tough watch, this game, especially for South Sydney when you look at them and they've just got stars all across the park. But as we said for the last few weeks, when they're missing one of these middles, they struggle. When they're missing 3 of them, just a completely different footy side. And I feel really sorry for the Dragons. Jeez, they've had some tough calls going against them the last few weeks.
Mate.
They had the one against Manly, which turned that game on its head. Then the Cody Walker try in the 50th minute here.
That was all time.
That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't
What do
understand.
you say? Like, what?
There was like 4 plays offside.
Is there some is it an illusion? Is there some magical illusion of camera angle that's making them look in front where they're not? I don't get it. And it sucks because the flick pass from Chell was unbelievable. But I just don't know how they make these calls.
You say it all the time, Kempy, but mistakes we made in general play in the moment, bloody hard job refereeing, but when they go upstairs and it's that obvious and they sit there and look at it over and over, it's like, what are they missing?
I don't understand it. Unless they've got a different camera angle they're not showing, but then it's even worse because you're making everyone think you're making the wrong call.
Yes.
Show us the angle.
Show us the right angle then. I just don't understand. Anyway, fuck. Dragons have been hard done by with some really, really tough calls.
And I'm not saying they would have won this game, but like you think about that goes from 6 points to a penalty, 30, 40 metres out. They kick for touch. They're on the attack all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's the exact same thing that happened in the Manly game. Goes from a try to Manly kick for touch, go up the other end and score. It's a 12-point swing.
Mate, I don't know what to say. Honestly, it's getting to the point where, you know, usually seasons have a couple of weekends that are Barry Crockers, but it's unfortunately happening like huge game-shifting calls, essentially every second game nearly.
And mate, like as you said, almost every second game, we are destined to have a finals game decided by something like this.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's get into the Rabbitohs. It's going to be a hard game to talk about because you look at the team, like 63% completion from the Rabbitohs. God, like what? Seasons on the line. You guys were premiership favourites, and I just want to get in the locker room to know like what's the vibe like? Is there unhappiness? Is the message coming down clear enough? It just for Cody Walker to go from absolutely tearing Queensland apart, playing one of the better games you'll see from a 6 in Origin, to he just doesn't look happy. So I know fans hate when I say this. It's like, oh, there must be something happening on the field, but it's a truth. Like, what are we just going to pretend like they're not human beings and there isn't something going on? I'm not saying that something's going on in Cody's life. What I'm saying is like that locker room does not look like the same happy locker room that we know the Rabbitohs. We've come and loved the Rabbitohs. They've won 2 out of the last 3 games, so it's not like they're on a massive losing streak. I'm just unsure as to what's happening at the Rabbitohs right now.
Well, mistake me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it was the Charity Shield. I remember watching these 2 clubs then and going, my God, St George aren't even in the same ballpark as South Sydney. They are not even in the same ballpark. And South Sydney's had, granted the last 10 weeks have been a nightmare. I think Matty said it the other day. Did you say they've won 3 of their last 10?
Yeah, so now it's 4 out of 11. Yeah.
Good God. It's awful.
But like, what I'm surprised at is usually guys like Trell, Cody, that fires them up. This is usually they're coming out absolutely firing, and I don't think that they're the problem at all, but they're usually a good barometer as to where the Rabbitohs are at. Like, you look at them, you see Trelly Mitch smiling, enjoying his footy, you see Cody Walker just killing it, happy, leading the boys. And when I watch them now, and they look like like they're not enjoying their footy as much. And look, they've lost their game, so you would sit there and go, well, obviously they're not enjoying their footy as much, but they've been through patches like this before and come out firing.
Yeah, no, I think like that's like they beat the Tigers 2 weeks ago up there in Tamworth, and at least at the end of the game, Latrell was revving up the crowd and everything. And I walked away from that thinking, didn't play well, but there's something there.
Yeah, well, I even said it in the podcast.
There's something coming. Yeah. They can feel it. But then the last 2 weeks, like the game against Cronulla, like I thought the scoreline did them massive favours. And then the other night, like granted they won, but far from impressive.
So that Tigers game, they completed 80%. They, against the Dragons, 63%. Sharkies the week before was 66% completion. I said 80 against the Tigers, much better. Broncos, 66%. Bulldogs, 71%. That's the last 5 weeks. So all 71 and below in 4 of 5, and 66 or below in 3 of those 5. That's just like pretty
Especially
ordinary.
now, like without your middles, I would have thought just simplify it as much as we can. Just get through our sets. And they seem to be doing the opposite.
I was sitting there with Matty watching it Saturday afternoon, which was heaps enjoyable. Matty was heaps cool, calm and collected through it all. There were 3 sets, 2 off tries and 1 off a penalty goal, coming off their own line, and they turned it over within 3 tackles. Drop balls, just some horrific stuff. It just looks like there's a discipline problem there where they just... Let's call it what it is. It looks like complacency where they go, our attack's so good, which it can be. They just think they're going to score and they use it, they chance their arm. They had a bunch of forward passes, a few, again, a little bit questionable down that sideline where they were close, but close isn't going to be good enough come finals time if they get there when you come up against a disciplined side. So just, it's
especially when they seem to be in a bit of a rut like this. Matty, I'm keen to hear your opinion. Also not ideal to be just travelling around the country. Constantly. Like it's come at an awful time for them, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go on about it because it sounds like I'm making excuses, but they have gone Sunshine Coast, Tamworth, Perth, Cairns, Newcastle 5 weeks in a row. But I mean, it's a Women's World Cup. What do you do? Just on the discipline thing though, South started the game well, but the first set of the game, they were called offside for being in front of the kicker. Just little things like that. You're just like, how does that happen?
So often with them.
Yeah. But yeah, the completion rates in the last 5 weeks have been... I need to fix it immediately.
Yeah. And you can't really, like, I don't look at Trell and Cody and say they're playing terribly at all. Like, some of the stuff Trell does, even when he's a little bit flat, is unbelievable. His ball playing is a big fella. It is so
Isn't
good.
that the thing? There's not many individuals playing poorly.
No,
just
not really.
as a team, it's not clicking.
Yeah. I look at Cody. He still has a try assist. He's still dangerous as anything. I'm not worried about really their performance. I'm actually just worried about, like, are they enjoying their footy? Because when Trell and Cody enjoy their footy, they're literally the best in the comp. The best in the comp. And, I mean, if I have to be a little bit critical, I would say Lachie Lam has just had a really, really quiet last month. And he just doesn't seem the same confident player we saw last year. Quite a few errors this week. And, yeah, I wonder what's going on with him in regards to his confidence. I wonder whether, do you need to go the route of, dismissing all the errors and just going, mate, you're the man. And maybe that's what Demetrio was trying to do a few weeks ago by saying that he's going to be the best 7 that they've had in a very long time. Yeah. Which Renault obviously responded to, which is great theatre for the punter. But yeah, Lachie Lam, he's almost gone back a little bit this year. I still think he's definitely the guy going forward. And let's remember, what is he, 21 years old, 22 years old? What has been the theme of this year? Yep. All the best halves are like 34 years old, 33 years old. So I understand Rabbitohs fans, wanting Lachie to play like he did last year and come out and kill it. And yes, Renault was moved on and he went to the Broncos. But, and I say this unironically, I know everyone likes to make a joke of it, but just be patient with Lachie. He's 22 years old. He's made a prelim last year. They made a prelim last year, didn't you? Made a prelim last year with him. He had a great run into the finals. Very easy when they have a quiet year to be too harsh on the kid. I agree. I think he's had a quiet year and he's gone backwards a little bit, but just be patient with the kid. Be patient with him.
I think it's hard in this side too because you've got proper superstars in every other position that people feel the need just to blame something. And Ilias wears a lot of that. But I also think people need to just think about with Ilias too, like, could you have a better halfback? Sure. You're going to pay $1 million for that better halfback. You're paying, what would he be on, do you reckon? 4s, 5s?
4 or 5 max.
Like, imagine how much money that frees up to be able to keep Cook, Walker, Latrell, all these other stars.
Tell me another half that's 20, how old is he, 22? 23? What other half at 23? Like, Sam Walker's dropped right now. He's literally, and he'd be on more coin. He was on that when he bloody came out of school.
Yep.
So what other 23-year-old half, and I'm sure I'm bloody number 7 right now, is killing it? I'm trying to think. I'm sure someone in the comments know, so apologies. We're doing this off the fly. But as I said, so at 22 years old, he helped steer his team to a prelim. He was great in his debut year. Just got to be a bit patient with him. You can critique his game. He's a professional athlete. I'm critiquing his game right now. I do believe he hasn't had the best year. But that doesn't mean he can't be great. That doesn't mean he can't be great. We're so early in his career.
Tommy Dearden,
he's a 6.
Yeah, out and out 7.
Out and out 7, that's to steer the team around.
Not a lot.
There's really not a lot. So, yeah, I just, unironically, be patient with Lachie. I think that there are other players in that team that you probably look to first before you go towards Lachie to make the reason why.
And I think it also, I think the South Sydney Rabbitohs need to be aware, take the Roosters as a case study. I'm not saying Adam Reynolds is, at the Cooper Cronk level, but to lose a player like that, I mean, here we are 5 years on, we're still trying to work out who the guy is for the Roosters because they've chopped and changed so many fellas. I think the Rabbitohs have got a guy in Ilias that they've shown they can be successful with. Got to a prelim final. I'd hate to take the words out of your mouth, but be patient.
Yeah.
It's a young half.
It's true, though.
Yeah, it's 100% it's bloody true. Yeah. People don't like to hear it, but it's the reality of it.
And also, look what Renault's done at the Broncos.
Yeah.
So put it this way. If Lachie Lam, by the time he's 25, 26, turns into the player that we all know he can be, fans aren't going to be like, yep, still shouldn't have got rid of Renault. They're going to be like, oh, thank you so much. We've got 10 years of this guy. A hard decision had to be made. I still believe it was the right call. They made a prelim last year. Yes, it's a bit of a quieter year this year and not as good, but both teams won. Both parties won. Renault got to go to the Broncos. They're killing it. Lachie Lam, he's going to be the half in the next 10 years, maybe even longer. I just be patient. Anyone else the Rabbitohs you want to talk about?
Nah, man, I just want to see them get some of these middles back.
I just want to play with some zest.
Yeah, but you play with zest off the back of winning the middle this side, though.
But I don't see any zest like even Keon. He was a bit better on the weekend, but even he's been a bit quiet. And we're talking about Keon. He was so good in Origin.
There's a chance Tyler and Sele might be in the squad this week, but from what I'm hearing, it's most likely going to be around 27.
Tell you what, hasn't Totola just shown you how important he is to this side?
Talk about his value going up the last month for not playing.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a big game for them this weekend because
mate.
you got the bye the week
Huge
after.
game.
Yeah, Knights by Roosters.
God, you don't want to be playing a Roosters with nothing to lose other than to ruin your top 8 hole.
Hey, it's keeping me up at night.
Or a Rooster side also playing
For the 8.
Them two could be playing for a top 8 spot.
Don't
If
say
the
that.
Roosters go on a run and
Could you
win the next
imagine
two,
Roosters, Rabbitohs playing for 8 spot and Raiders, Sharkies playing for a 4 and 8 spot?
Yeah.
How crazy
Especially
that is.
now with Newcastle, like, I don't know what Jackson's injury is, but if he's out for 2 or 3 weeks, Newcastle could start to drop. Now, you could end up, imagine if it is Roosters South.
wide
playing
open.
For that.
Imagine the last round's got like 5 different results. It could be so good. Yeah, so hopefully the boys can turn it around. Let's go to the Dragons. I think the Dragons have been outstanding the last few weeks.
Yep.
I really do. I've been super, super impressed with how hard they're working. I thought Sloan was good again. You know, this is probably his 2nd week in a row. I thought he's been solid. Sully, wow, he's big and strong. Holy heckers. I think the Dragons should be really proud of themselves. Very easy for their year to completely spiral. And if a few calls go their way, there's every possibility that they've won the last 2 or 3 games. They've been in every single game against teams that are fighting to stay in the 8. These guys have nothing really to play for other than pride. And they've taken it to every team they've played. I think the Dragons deserve a massive rap.
Without sounding like a cop-out, God, I hope this team wins another game for the end of the season. Fuck, they deserve it, and geez, their fans deserve it.
Yeah.
As I said, I think they've been so unlucky on so many occasions this year. They've obviously lost Bud Sullivan to injury. You know, was Lomax injured this week?
Yeah. Lomax injured,
Is he
Bird's
coming
gone
back
for the
this
rest of the
week,
season. I haven't seen a lot of word on Lomax, but I don't think there's anything major, but Birdie's season, I believe.
Poor old Birdie. Geez, I hope with Shane Flanagan arriving back there, he can.
It's a credit to
something out of Bird again.
credit to Ryan Carr, isn't it? Like I said, all right, they're not getting the results, but they've been in a lot of contests where they've been really not favoured at all. Season was gone a fair while ago in terms of finals, and he's getting them up for games week in, week out.
Yeah.
He said they deserve a win to finish the season, so we'll see if they can jag one.
Absolutely. Some standout performances. Yeah, I thought Sully was a bloody rampaging beast. He is. I just love Sully's career because if he was at a top tier club, I think he'd be getting much more recognition for what he does and how he plays. And he's had a few injuries this year, but geez, he's been consistent since arriving at the Dragons. And if you had said Sully's going to be one of their most consistent players over the last couple of years, people would have laughed in your face and said, "Come on, give me a break." Yeah, I think Sully was, really, really good on the weekend, and I think that if he just stays on the field, he'll be able to build up a legacy for himself at the Dragons.
If there was a betting market 4 years ago for Moses Sully to be lost to rugby league, I would have taken it every day of the week.
Yeah.
And mate, that's obviously paying so much respect to how he's turned it around, but it was not looking good.
Yeah, and he had a lot of off-field, issues in his personal life that would have turned away a lot of players.
100% it would have, yeah. And he's done very well to fight his way. And, he's arrived at the Dragons, which, respectfully to the Dragons, it's a club that all that sort of stuff could have got worse, and he hasn't allowed it to. He's just gone about his own work and played really good footy. They switched sides. They've messed around with him quite a bit, but he has been very consistent, and it's a word that I probably never thought I'd associate with Sully.
Yeah, I agree. Who do you think played well for the Dragons?
I'm loving Big Blake Laurie. What he's doing.
big blocker.
5 weeks on the trot. It's a tough period for the Drags, but Blakey Laurie rolls up the sleeves every week. 5 weeks on the trot, 130 plus metres. Toiler, but I think he's been really good for them.
I actually, this year I've noticed especially, is just the intensity he runs at. I think that he is definitely, a very vanilla front rower. But I think this year he's added a lot of punch to his game. I think the years before he was almost, definitely not going through the motions, but I just didn't see him hitting the line thinking he's going to break it. Whereas this year, I feel like he's getting enough confidence after re-signing with the Dragons that no, you know what? I'm going to run the ball to break the line rather than just get through the work that I'm supposed to get through.
Well, on this year, his numbers around tackle breaks, going from the most recent week back and just a few standouts. He had 4 tackle busts last week, 5 back in round 15. Round 9 he had 4. Round 8 he had 6. Like, pretty good numbers for, as you said, a front row who was a bit of a toiler. He's doing a bit of damage there, isn't he?
Have you got his minutes there from last week? Because I loved watching his intensity.
61 last week, 50,
geez,
51 against the Rabbits, 61 against Para.
Yeah, right. Yeah, see, the way that he played against Para, I would have even guessed he played more than 60. It felt like he was everywhere in that game.
Well, so how many tackle breaks do you have on the weekend?
The weekend was down a little bit more. He had just the one on the weekend.
Just the one. The week before, did you say he had 4?
4 the week before.
Yeah, I think it's the same as Payne Haas, so he's basically as good as the big fella. But sometimes all you need to do when you watch a player is like, if you notice them, they're playing good footy. And that sounds stupid, but I think that if you can feel the intensity of a front rower every time he grabs the ball, that's half the battle.
Yeah. Okay, so here you go. In 2022, he played 24 games and he busted basically his tackle bust going year on year. So 2022, he had 25 tackle busts, 2021, 26, 2020, 10, 2019, 16. This season, he's had 38 in 19 games. He's played 20-plus games in all those seasons. So
no way.
The damaging numbers have clearly gone up.
It's a Tedesco forward.
Yeah.
How many games has he played now? Well, how many games do you reckon he's played?
Like 100?
When you say he debuted?
2017.
Oh, fuck,
Jesus.
more than 100. 150.
He played 6 in his first season, 9 in his second season.
Oh, okay.
I'll go 130.
I'll go 110.
122.
Oh, fuck, so close.
taking
But yeah,
that.
so he's is he the Tedesco of front row?
I think the sample size is plenty big enough now to say yes, it is.
Yeah, so he's been great. It's still really interesting. This Ben Hunt thing hasn't gone away. It hasn't gone away. I would be surprised if he's at that club next year.
Well, the Titans chat, do you put a line through that now with the big boys re-signing? Or?
Yeah, that's a great question because they probably won't be able to afford him. I wonder where he does land. Dolphins maybe, but they haven't really said anything about it. They said they're confident with who they got.
Yeah, but that's typical Wayne.
Yeah.
We don't want James Roberts, and he's standing next to him a week later.
He'll be in the capital, boys.
I tell you what, Dolphins with Herbie, Flegler, and Benny Hunt.
I'd love to see him at the Dolphins.
I would too. That's when it first
great.
all kicked off. I was like, Dolphins is the perfect spot for him. Under Wayne again, redemption.
It'd be great.
The redemption arc of the Dolphins to get the job done. Anyone else stand out for you, the Dragons guys?
I say it every week, but I know they're not upside guys, but I love these two back rowers that they've managed to unearth.
Couchman?
Yes, Couchman as well, but I like Dan Russell, tall, rangy fella. He's come down from Queensland Cup. He's very good. And Billy Burns, who, I don't know, I've watched him play first grade before. I've never really taken notice of him until this year.
Yeah.
Once again, not going to be a superstar, but geez, they're handy guys to have as depth in your squad.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, if they can just find a back rower that can break your game open to a degree, those guys complement that so much. You know, guys that get through a bunch of work.
Those Couchman boys are good though, aren't they?
Yeah, Couchman, I like them. Yeah, so look, didn't get the win, but I think Dragons fans should be pretty bloody proud of their squad. Could have been an absolute disaster into the year, getting pumped every week. Now, on to the next game. Warriors defeat the Tigers 30-22. Don't forget, hungriest player code is Arnold to get $10 off Mexican food. Also, don't forget to grab a case of Bloke beer, the best beer in all the land from your local celebrations, IGA Plus Liquor, Porter's Liquor, Bottle-O, Thirsty Camel, Liquor Legends. Get into your local, grab a case of the beer of rugby league. Now, on to Warriors defeating the Tigers 30-22. I'm kind of like happy for both teams here. I thought the Tigers showed a really good showing for themselves again. Dane Laurie obviously outstanding. Warriors, another win, doing what they need to do to get the job done, getting ever so closer to a top 4 finish, which is outstanding. Do I think they have the gear in them that, say, Penrith or Broncos have right now? Me personally, no. I'll put them a tier below. But anyone would say Warriors making it the second week of the finals in 2023, that is an outstanding season. Now, things could fall their way where they get a home final. They have an incredible, 80 minutes of rugby league, and then they play another one, and they find themselves in a grand final. I do believe that they could find themselves in a grand final, but I feel like if they find themselves up against, like right now, things could improve, but right now, if they found themselves up against Penrith or Broncos, I'd probably pick Penrith or Broncos. That's to take nothing away from the Warriors. It's been incredible. I think it's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've done. I've definitely still got those top two teams, Penrith and Broncos. I've got them a distance above the Warriors at the moment. If I was to be, devil's advocate, 100, I think what the Warriors have done this year has been tremendous. Are we worried at all about the last 2 weeks? Only just knocking over a Titans side with 12 players, only just beaten the West Tigers over there. Or do we think it's just, do those two teams just play well? What do we reckon?
Well, I think that if we're going to say, it's great that Penrith can play bad and still get the win.
Yep.
Then I think the Warriors deserve that as well. Like, are they playing as good as they were maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago? Probably not. But they're just getting wins. They're just banking them up,
I feel the same. Like, the last 2 weeks have not been too pretty on the eye. Like, even defensively, they were cut to pieces a couple of times quite easily by Buller and Dane Laurie in particular. But as I said, it's easy to say, you lose tight games. If they won this and won this, how different the season would be. When they're not at their best, they're still getting away and winning games. We speak every week about how tight the competition this year is and how many upsets there are. Well, they're getting the job done.
Like, they're third. It's amazing.
It looks, plenty can change, obviously, but looking like maybe a Broncos Warriors in Suncorp week 1 of finals. Broncos still a chance at the minor premiership, but Penrith differential is substantially not substantially better by about 80, but looks Broncos.
Well, Penrith will need to drop a game, and we'd need to win every game.
Drop a game. Yeah.
If Penrith do, you might find Penrith might take the opportunity to rest players over the next 2 weeks. So
we still need to win every game.
Round 27, Panthers play the Cowboys. Cowboys who could be playing for a top 8 spot. Big chance Penrith rest players. So yeah, it's not out of the equation.
Because you got to buy this week, don't you?
Yeah.
What about you lining up birth of a child with a Broncos buy? Smart.
They're actually all going to be in the delivery room. That's what I was up there.
A reverse picture of Kevin Walters behind Kempy.
It's a fair trade. I went to their game and sat in the coach's box. Now you come to my game and sit in the coach's box as well and bless the kid. You bless the kid.
Unbelievable.
The bub comes out and first head they see is Reece Walsh. New daddy.
I would have said, you know what, you're going to have a better career in life than me because you're a way better looking young fella and a better footy player.
Pops out and sees Reece Walsh. The kid's like, geez, I'm going to be good looking. Then sees Beat pop around.
With the Warriors, 14 wins, 7 losses. Like, what a season. What a season. 14 wins, 7 losses.
I thought on the weekend, the fullback topic, he did a good job, but geez, you could see how important Chance is going to be. They need him back.
Oh, mate. And that's the thing, and I hate to keep bringing up with the Raiders. I just couldn't understand how quickly he fell out of favour. I feel like he offers... Is he going to do what Campbell can do, all the top-tier fullbacks? Is he going to completely break a game apart like a Latrell Mitchell or whatever? No, he's not. But the standard he offers you week in, week out towards a game plan, it's as good as anyone. What he offers to what the Warriors need from a fullback is as good as what the top tier fullbacks offer to what their team needs. Now, does that make him as good a player? No, but he's doing his job when you relatively speaking to the salary cap, to what he needs to be for the team. I always have thought Chance delivers so much to a footy team.
Especially with the way that they attack on that edge, like the way that they sweep so heavily. And Reece Walsh is probably a bad example because he is just so fast, but so much of it just comes down to timing. Like, you can be as fast as you want. If your timing's off, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, especially like watching the Warriors closely over the last few weeks, Chance just never gets it wrong. And there's such quicker fullbacks in him around, but his timing with SJ is just perfect.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that's really impressive with the Warriors is their combinations have just gelled so quickly.
Yep.
And that's what is an example, or it's the symptom of a really good environment for players to connect as well as they do. Like, we look at the Penrith boys, they're just so tight. They're so close. You look at the Broncos boys, they're all really tight. Look at the Warriors, all really tight. Very rarely do you find a side at the top of the table that aren't almost best mates.
And you have a look like it on the end of those sweeping plays, mate. What DWZ's doing at the moment?
Oh.
How do you defend him? Unless he is in the grandstand, he's scoring tries.
You pull his hair. That's the only way to stop him. It's a good point on the sweeping with Chance because they said he's not super quick by fullback standards and comparatively to other fullbacks in the game, but timing is just everything. Yeah. Like, Kemp, you spent a bit of time fullback?
I debuted there.
Yeah, a bit of fullback, and it's like it is so hard to get the timing of that line right. And look at Darius Boyd's a great example. He's one of the best sweeping fullbacks we've seen in terms of just getting that 3v2 right every time. He was never that quick, but his timing was perfect.
Yeah.
And you see the best and the worst players out. And you're right, Chance, he's got it nailed to a T in that combination with SJ, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important too because that's like the one. Like I should have been a fullback more than a winger, but the one thing because I didn't play footy growing up, I didn't have that timing. So I needed years to like learn it. It is like so crucial. Yeah. And I think like Carmichael Hunt, or Lachie was probably the best at it early on, being that guy that can sweep out the back and get 3-on-2. Then Kay came in. I thought he was outstanding. Then Billy Slater brought it into his game and absolutely took it to a whole nother level. And it's just, I think with the game being as close as it is, I mean, look at Latrell. Like that cutout pass that he did for Alex Johnson, to be able to do that and the timing of it, getting, meeting the line just as they get to you and passing it on, it's invaluable because teams are so close in physical ability, in my opinion. Like physically, they're all used pretty good. Like when you get to the tippity top, you look at Penrith and Broncos, you go, okay, maybe they're just a little % more. But the way you score points is usually just by creating space for outside men rather than individually just busting things apart, usually anyway.
Cody's the one for me. Like when we normally reference sweeping fullbacks and whatnot, but Cody runs that sweep line a lot on both edges for the Bunnies. He times it to perfection every time.
Yep. And squaring up the defence, knowing to run overs or unders. And like sometimes Cody nearly looks like he's walking, but it's all timing. Yep. So it doesn't matter how fast you're running. Whereas I think some rookie players make the mistake of thinking that I need to be going 100 miles an hour all the time. Joey speaks about it a bit of like tempo, changing your tempo up to get the timing right. And so Chance definitely does offer that. But yeah, the fact that they're sitting third, like the Warriors are going so well, they're sitting third and we're not really even that shocked anymore.
Nah.
Whereas like, again, if you said at the start of the year, in one of the closest years in the history of the game, Warriors would be sitting third, you would have said, fucking beat it. There's no way. There's no way. It is amazing what they're doing. Who else stood out for you guys for the Warriors?
I thought SJ, mate. I thought towards the back end of that game, there was... I thought there was twice where Jackson Ford was going to absolutely cruise through and score some great SJ. But there was one that he went to SJ and then he just backed it up straight away. And we spoke about it last week. The two blokes he took to the line with him, Tohu, AFB, just picked his moment perfectly and AFB crashed over. Have we heard about his injury? He hobbled off at him.
Not much word.
Shocked me out of New Zealand. Yeah.
Hopefully it was just cramps or something like because he played 71 minutes AFB, 270 metres. And that hopefully it was just cramping, but he did limp off.
270 metres, 71 minutes, a try, 27 runs. 27 runs for a front rower. Far out.
Insane.
He is so bloody good, Adam Fanor-Blake.
Just had a quick look through the Warriors squad, boys. They got two guys that have won premierships in there. Who do you reckon they are? Matty,
Tohu?
Yep, one. If you know it, Matty, don't say
Dylan Walker.
Nicely done.
Still in the gloves, baby. Guru, you might be called the Guru, mate. I'm called the fucking Beak.
Mate, I had him on trivia on the live stream the other night.
Yeah?
It's like having Perth next to me. 3-hour delay. It's waiting for
really?
something. What's going on? Mental blank after mental.
Need to upgrade the RAM, mate.
12 schooners down didn't help.
Mate, a lot of excuses this week. A lot of excuses. Terrible in tipping. Terrible at trivia.
Oh, mate.
I think the AFL's rotting your brain, bro.
Go back through the tapes. It's not just this week.
Yeah, so I just think that it's like some of their other wins with the Warriors. Like it's just good they're consistently winning. Like I just think they're backing them up. They're doing what they're supposed to do. If they win the comp this year, it'll be one of the greatest stories of all time. But the fact that they're even going to be in the top four most likely, get a home final, that's enough for me as a Warriors fan. That's amazing. And then we just build on that next year.
If you're Brisbane week 1, who would you rather play more? Would you rather play like the Warriors or the Melbourne Storm? Like personally, I'd rather take the Warriors just because they lack that finals experience.
Probably the Warriors just because fucking any team with Munster in it, just fuck off.
Yeah.
I know how New South Wales feel now. You just don't want to be playing monsters in finals.
No, you don't.
The one for me, the Warriors, we spoke a bit about obviously, but Luke Metcalf, he's just rolling that team. He's playing so well. He's obviously plays second fiddle to Sean Johnson there. His support play is brilliant. He's scoring so many tries this year, and the way the Warriors attack with these interchanging of short passes with the forwards, AFB, Tor, who we speak about that all the time, they make so many busts through the middle. And because he is playing Metcalf like second fiddle to SJ, it means he can almost play as like a second fullback, roaming around the ruck and just support. As soon as they go through, he just takes off, and they're turning these line breaks into tries off the back of that. He doesn't have to be the go-to guy in there, but he's doing his job perfectly, and just another X factor through the guts for them.
Yep, very exciting times for the Warriors, and this is just the beginning, baby. This is the beginning. I cannot wait to see, what is this squad looking like in 4 or 5 years. Think about how many players are going to want to play under Webster. The social media is good. The brand has never been more exciting. It's becoming a team that fans want to get behind. Players are going to want to get behind. It's going to be exciting to see what they do. Now, onto the Tigers. Look, didn't get the win, but I think the Tigers, ever since Appy, one game, so they took one game, then the next game, ever since that next game, Appy and Brooks, I think they've been really, really good. And I don't think right now that they're the worst team in the comp. I actually think right now, worst team in the comp is the Bulldogs, unfortunately.
Yeah, hard to push back on. Yeah.
Like, if Bulldogs and Tigers played, I'd be backing the Tigers in to win.
Sure, man. I think the Tigers have looked. I know that all the scores haven't always backed that over the last few weeks, but I think they've looked really good. I think the halves look sensational. I was so happy to see Dane Laurie have that game on the weekend.
Holy shit.
It's felt like it's been coming for a while, and it'd be interesting to see how they use him at Penrith next year. Whether he's, I've heard that he will be a backup 5'8".
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Could you squeeze him into that 14 and just put him in there for 10 minutes at each half or something maybe? Get him to go skids.
And then would you run with another 9 on the bench, or do you just run?
No,
with
you run with him because then he can cover 6, 7, 9, even fullback and wing.
Yeah, potentially.
Could he cover 9 at a pinch if you say you went Kenny playing 80?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you put him at 14 and you go, look, if Kenny's gassed, you put him on for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But also, we can chuck him in for Isaiah Yeo for, like whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. And because he can cover 1 to 7, the key would probably be, can he jump into 9 for 15 minutes? In saying that, we spoke about the importance of the dual hookers at the moment in the current game. Kenny, because largely he just distributes and just tackles his ass off, I think he can go 80 for them.
Yeah. And this is purely coming from a position of if he keeps playing this kind of footy, you just want him in the 17. Is it the best tactical setup? Maybe not. But when someone's playing this good, sometimes you just need to find a spot. Now, it's a very long way away. But his stats, a try, 3 try assists, 135 metres, 9 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 18 tackles, no errors.
In the current side, coming last against the team coming third in the competition over in New Zealand. That's an effort.
That's one position where I felt like the Tigers, and this is just outside looking in, but it felt like even in the preseason, they'd already decided that Laurie wasn't their man.
Yep.
Because we were hearing reports that Charlie Staines was the starting fullback for them coming into the year. They were leaning towards Staines, and we were all shocked. We spoke about on the podcast. We were like, are you serious? Laurie was, I think, their player of the year last year.
And when we say coming into the year, I mean December.
Yeah, we're talking fucking
pre-Christmas,
super early. So that's prejudging. Prejudging. And wasn't he player of the year? Oh, Brooks won it. It should have been Laurie.
Yeah, exactly that.
And so I do think that the Tigers will be kicking themselves that they waited this long to give Laurie a start. Now, Buller's been a revelation. There's no denying that. And, I think it's been the right call to get Buller into that fullback position. But surely a guy like Dane Laurie, because one thing that I was confused about is when you talk about culture and get players out there that just compete with every single second of a game, Dane Laurie's that guy. He's that guy. So
yeah, sorry to rub this into Tigers fans, but Penrith just licking their lips. You wonder what price they got him for. Just going, how good's he going to be as a backup next year?
And if Luai doesn't re-sign him at the Penrith system, who knows what could happen there?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, yeah.
Isn't he just an infectious footballer too, Laurie?
Absolutely. That's what's surprising. Get him in your 17, especially if you're at the bottom of the table.
There was a moment where they were trying to pack a scrum, and I think a streaker came on the field, so they all sort of stood there for a minute. I was just watching Dane Laurie and his body language, and he's just up and about, and he's just happy to be there. He's got the big moustache, the big grin on, just enjoying himself. I was just like, that's unreal.
Who else stood out for you guys for the Tigers?
I thought Stefano actually had a pretty good game. I thought he went after it here. It's been a bit of a weird career for Stefano so far. I sort of
Stop start.
Yeah, I keep feeling like next year's the year where he just goes bang.
Yep.
And I thought that would be this year as well. So Christ, I hope it's next year because such a good front rower in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's. I'll give a shout out to Papali'i, his defence. 40, I think it was like 45 tackles, only one miss. 48 tackles, only one miss. I will say, I've just been really impressed with Isaiah Papali'i because he was at the Warriors and he just struggled to have the right mindset. He goes to the Eels and kills it. He goes to the Tigers. Very easy for him to go to a bottom tier club and just get the paycheck. You know, clock in, clock out. Thanks for coming. But I think that is he playing as well as he was at the Eels? No, but I think that's almost impossible because he's at a team that's not going to give him his good ball. But I think that you cannot fault his effort every single week, Papali'i. He has had a crack all season long.
Yep, completely agree. I thought Bateman was good yesterday too. Had a red hot crack.
But both those back rows, they just give everything. 80 minutes, give it their all every week.
I thought Bateman, all things considered, I thought he was, and maybe my expectations were too high, but I thought he was really quiet against the Raiders last week. I thought he'd really go after them. He was a little bit quiet, but he bounced back in this game and did really well.
Yep.
Yeah, so Tigers fans, the positive is that they're playing a good style of footy. They're not getting the wins and they're going to win the spoon most likely, but even though I thought they'd be far more progressed than they are this year, like I do believe they have made progress since last year, even though they're still at the bottom of the table. I am more confident that they're building towards something next year. The key is that you just got to hope that people at the top don't somehow chop that down.
Yep, don't stand in their own way.
Because that has been, I guess, the Tigers' biggest issue is that every time you see them making progress, it seems that some decision completely just chops it. And
I think as a Tigers fan, my big message would be watch performance over the score. Because your performances in game are improving. There is no doubt about that whatsoever.
All right. That is us done for the Tigers v the Warriors or Warriors v the Tigers. Roosters defeat the Dolphins. Brought to you by Bloke Beer. Just said it because I could. Roosters defeat Dolphins. Look, are the Roosters where we thought they would be? No. But I think ever since Hutchinson's been back in the side, they look like a much better side, completely squared up their attack, gave them a bit of direction. They definitely look like a much better side with Hutchinson in it. It's going to be interesting to see what the direction is over next year. I guess the biggest concern with the Roosters is I don't feel they can win the comp this year. And at the moment, I still don't have them making the 8, but they can. The biggest concern, I guess, is like they're no closer to what their spine's going to be next year. You know, is Cheese going to be the starting 9? Maybe, maybe not. You know, is it going to be Sandon Smith? Is it going to be Sam Walker? Is it going to be Drew Hutchison? Is Keary going to go? Like, what is the direction forward for them? That's probably the biggest concern for the Roosters this year. If you're going to say that they can't win the comp this year, but they definitely look better. They're showing fight, and they got the win. What do you boys reckon?
Yeah, completely agree, mate. I thought that Hutcho gave them a lot of direction this week. Isn't he just a great story of perseverance? For those that don't remember, cared or knew at the time, Hutcho coming through was going to be a gun out of the Dragons. He was the guy in that age group. Floated around, turned to utility, was a back rower for a while there. For him to come into a first grade side and play halfback against Wayne Bennett and do that, how good.
Yeah, mate, so good. He looked amazing too. Yeah. He looked amazing.
18 runs. His running game was brilliant.
12 tackle breaks.
Isn't it wild? Like, we always talk about that age, but yeah, he's 28 years old now. I still look at Hutchman and go, he's 23, 24. He's not. He's 28 years old. He's seen a lot in rugby league, whether it be reserve grade, first grade, whatever, but he looks like he's just at that age now where he just gets the game. And he might not have the upside of other guys, the awards, trophies, whatever it might be, but showed on the weekend, as he did 2 years ago, that he might be the guy for the job.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of fans giving him a bit of slack because he doesn't have that top tiers. And it's like, all of a sudden, doesn't it make you realise as fans, hey, there's more to rugby league than just having this top tier, incredible ability. The Roosters now they're begging for Drew Hutchison to stay on the side. They're begging to have a guy that doesn't have to worry about having this crazy, it's bizarre we're saying he doesn't have this crazy upside when he just scored 2 tries, had 12 tackle breaks. But sometimes you just need a steady 7 to get you around the park and let other people take care of that crazy pizzazz that you need.
Especially when you've already got the superstars.
100%.
Doesn't need to do anything else.
And once again, you reference back to it a few times when talking about the Broncos, that 2006 side, Hodjo, Carmichael, Lachie, Webke, I could name all of them. Yet the halfback is one of the great trivia questions of all time, Shane Perry.
The great Shane Perry of the Redcliffe Dolphins. We used to play each other in Clydesdales with Dolphins. He was a gun in Q Cup. Gets called into the squad, wins a premiership. He might have played a few games after that, but basically, wasn't seen again. One of the great stories, that Shane Perry.
I think he only played about 30 games.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Unbelievable.
And it just shows you, sometimes you just need a steady 7 to steer the ship.
He played 43 games of first grade for the Broncos. He played 73 altogether.
Who else did he play for?
He played for Western Suburbs in 1999.
Oh, so before
And then he played for the Dogs 2000, 2001, only 5 or 6 games. Then he went over to the Catalans, and I'm sure he enjoyed himself over there.
Yeah, mate, he was so good in Q Cup. Fuck, he used to tear us apart. But yeah, Drew Hutchison, 28 years old. We've learned it all year. Maybe he just needs another opportunity to steer the boys around. And he's proven it. Since he's come back in the side, their attack looks so much better. I mean, they scored 30 points. They couldn't score a bloody try to save themselves a couple of weeks ago.
They're on 26 now, the Roosters. Games coming up against the Eels, Tigers and Rabbitohs, all very winnable. Can get themselves to 32. Their for against is neg 84, so not good. But it can be done. Not saying it will, but there is finals hope for them.
32.
Yeah.
They would need other results to go their way, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a big one is if the Knights can knock off the Rabbitohs for them this weekend.
Okay.
That keeps the Rabbitohs on 28, Knights shoot up to 31.
And if the Cowboys also lose a couple games.
Yeah, they need some results, but
But that's the thing that does make it hard. Of the 3 teams directly above them, Cowboys and Parramatta and South, they still have a bye to come each. So, they're going to need results to go their way.
And win every game. But, crazy things happen. Crazy things have happened. I thought Nat Butcher was outstanding as well. Nat Butcher's probably, from a year perspective, he's probably their shining light. Matter of fact, I'd probably give Nat Butcher either him or Hargreaves Player of the Year.
I think I'd go with Nat. Yeah.
He has played multiple positions when they've needed him to. He's played in the front row. He's played on an edge. He's done all he could do to get the win each week, regardless of result.
He has just about solved a problem every week. Unfortunately, the Roosters have just got too many problems, not enough Nats.
Yep. Once again, Suaalii, so much better on the sting. He's been really, really good the last couple of weeks. Just loving his tough carries. Just a handful coming out of his own end. 18 runs, which is what you want from a guy like Suaalii.
Great to see Dylan Napa getting back on the field.
Yeah.
What a story.
The big fella. Who would have thought? Hey?
The last time we saw him in a Roosters jersey was walking through Bondi Junction
after a comp.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Another guy that I've been a fan of for quite a while, and he sometimes he's on the bench, sometimes he's in New South Wales Cup, but Terrell May. He's had games like this before, maybe not as hectic as this, but he has had impact for quite a while now at the Roosters. It's going to be interesting to see, how old is Terrell May? Is he like 24, 25?
24.
Interesting to see his development, if he can develop into a guy that keeps his spot each week. But on the weekend, in 39 minutes, and I think we already spoke about it, but 18 runs, 197 metres, 74 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 26 tackles, 0 losses, 0 missed, and 2 offloads. But he's done this before, come on, and just blown games apart. And so if he can find a way to just get a bit more consistent in doing this, and maybe it's more around game time, I'm not sure, but he's mate, he could be something. He could really impact games.
Geez, there's a big opportunity there for him or just a front rower. With JWH getting older, Fletcher Baker's already leaving.
Yep.
You would have to assume that when Angus is back fully fit, he jumps onto an edge. So the Roosters are screaming out for a front row forward to really put their hand up there, and if they can't find it in-house, they'll go out and find it somewhere.
Angus Crichton could be back this week.
Yep.
Which would be good.
Big in.
Just on May, he's in his 12 games, in 10 of them, he's missed 0 tackles.
Yeah, he's a
Wow.
bloody good player. I've rated him for a bit now, and he debuted, was it last year or the year before? Might have been the year
I think it
before.
was the year before. Yeah.
But I really rate him. I really rate him. And if you have a rotation of like Hargreaves, May, Linu, Collins in your front row, that's a bloody good forward rotation.
Debuted last year.
Last year.
He's obviously two people that haven't put together. He's the brother of Tyrone and
Yeah.
Taylor.
They don't look very similar at all. They look so similar. He's like literally just a bigger version of
Yeah, bigger version.
mate, I'm a big fan. I think that if Spencer comes and does what we know he can do, and you've got a rotation of Hargreaves, Collins, Terrell May, I like that. I really, really do. Sandon Smith's an interesting one because he came in, plays 7. Now it looks like he's a utility. What do you reckon's happening here?
I've got no idea.
Brandon Smith only 35 minutes on the weekend. Did he get a head knock or?
Not sure, to be honest with you. He wasn't playing for the Matildas. But I don't understand. Like, I don't understand if
Sandon Smith's playing more minutes than Brandon Smith.
Hutcho was in the squad all year, playing centre, playing back row, playing all over the place. You've been successful with him at halfback previously. They went with Sandon Smith, which I'm completely fine with. If that's what you're going to do, back it in. Jake Turpin was the starting 9, and now they've just completely flipped it. I can't make sense of what they're doing. And now
I don't know. What did
you're
Turpin
gonna throw
do to
Sam
get
Walker in there this week? What's going to happen then? Does Hutcho drop out of the side?
Doesn't look like he had HIA. He came off in the 30th minute, Brandon this is, and then he came back on right at the end. So, not sure.
What the hell?
It's very hard to make sense of. I don't know.
What did
they're gonna
Turpin do to get dropped?
Yep.
I thought he'd been one of their better players, especially in defence.
Thought he definitely had been. Yeah. And similar to what Mitch Kenny was doing, he was just delivering ball. That's all he had to do.
Well, if you were to sit down before the year and go, what's a great combo? It's Turpin, Cheese.
Yep.
You start Turpin, you bring Cheese on for X amount. You maybe put him in the forwards for a little bit as well, but you bring him on so he can just go hard. And now all of a sudden, he's only played 30 minutes on the week, 35 minutes. So 30 minutes initial stint, 5 minutes at the end.
What do you reckon they'll do with Sam Walker? From what his team won on the weekend, I think
Surely
the
they'll bring him back
Roosters.
in.
And he had a couple of try assists, and then the Sydney Morning Herald reported that he's a chance to come back into top grade this week.
Surely not.
Like,
Where do you put
where
him?
does he come in? Like, because you can't drop Hutcho. He's the best
and
player.
they're clearly not dropping
He doesn't drop
Kiri.
Kiri. So, like, he doesn't really achieve much as a 14.
But they can't be 14 because Sandon has proven that he's playing 9 longer. So what are you going to drop Cheese?
I don't know.
It doesn't look like Turpin played this week.
I think he did. He played for the Bears.
I think he did.
played the Roosters.
I think he did that. I think he played last week,
Oh, okay, sorry.
but this week
Okay, maybe
he
he
didn't. He played against the Knights in round 23 or whatever. But
And to be
Bears
fair,
was- yeah.
this is coming from a person that I didn't think Sam Walker should have been dropped.
Yeah.
So I'm not. This is not on his performance. It's more just like Drew Hutchinson just had the game of his bloody life.
Sorry,
You-
Timmy. Tell me you're all right.
Yeah.
You're all right. Sorry.
43
Yeah, so he did
minutes.
play. He did play.
How'd he go? Stats wise, just a bunch of tackles. Obviously more than that, but
He played 43 minutes.
7
now.
runs in 43 minutes.
how many tackles?
26. 0 misses.
Fucking good defender. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that rotation, and the chat around Sam Walker coming back. It's almost like the 1 week you don't bring him back, you're talking about bringing him back. It's like I don't understand. Yeah. So look, are they at this peak where we thought they would? No, but are Joey Manu, Billy Smith, Suoli'i, and Tupou playing probably the best they have all season? I think they are, and I think what is that on the back of? I think that's on the back of a 7, just getting the game plan down pat, steering the ship.
Yep. Playing direct and yeah.
Because you look at this. Suoli'i, 176 metres. Manu, 170. Billy Smith, 167. Tupou, 198. And obviously Teddy, 158. I will say, Tupou just if he's not the most under-the-radar player in history, I'm not here.
He's right up there.
Like, he's top try scorer of all time. You just feel like he's never got the accolades. And he's not like just a flying finisher, but he'll also run for 150, 200 metres a game on top of it. He does the hard yards.
Well, can you get his stats up for the last whatever years of his metres run? So you can talk about Roosters' all-time try scorer, but as you just said, he's getting through the fucking tough carries every week for so long, for so many years. It's unbelievable.
I think he's an interesting player that, in his first 3 or 4 years, he did have a lot of errors in his game. But he's cleaned that up, but so many people just ignore it.
Yeah.
I just think he's still got errors in his game, and he did once upon a time. Yes, 100%.
Ages ago.
So long ago.
So long ago.
So average running meters per game this year 178, last year 156, year before 180, year before 181, year before 171, and we're just going back from there.
And is there more years?
164, 135, 135, 115, 121, 101.
So he's just gone up and up and up.
Yeah.
So for like 5 years, he hasn't averaged less than 160 metres or something.
Isn't it wild too when you think about that try that he scored in the grand final where he jumped over Wolfman? That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so really good signs. Billy Smith, another great game. Really close to obviously being in the team of the week. Really, 11 tackle breaks. Just all I'm hoping is stay on the field. Imagine what he's going to be doing in a year if he plays a full year of footy.
Did you see when he did his interview with Fox after the game?
What do we say?
Had the shirt off, just had the open jacket.
Oh, straight out of his mind.
Even Cooper Cronk just sort of said, mate, put a shirt on.
Settle down.
Can't do this.
Hey? A couple of good games, mate. You're getting the bloody rig out. Hey?
Good. The game had barely finished.
Jeez Louise.
Had the medal around his neck. It was unreal.
So you got to take your wins where you can get them. Still some questions around the Roosters, but at least, fight isn't associated with the Roosters because they're seen as the glamour club. But there's one thing that the Roosters have been since Trent Robinson come over, and it's they fight to the end. They always fight to the end. And I think they're showing that this year, which they'll probably learn a lot heading into next year. Because if you can go through a year that's tough and fight through it all, let's say next year everything goes right for them, it'll almost feel easy to them because they're like, fuck, last year everything was just going wrong for us. When it all goes right, you can enjoy it more because you're like, fuck, we know how quickly it can go poorly. Anything else for the Roosters?
No.
Now, onto the Dolphins. I think that, I think most people would say they're probably just running out of puff. I do believe that Ray Stone call completely changed the game. I just want to know, okay, the guy fell half a metre. I understand he hit him in the head. But what is Ray Stone supposed to do in that situation? Because what do you say? Oh, change your target. His target was literally in his belly. Then you say, don't hit as hard. Like, tell me how he could have not hit his head.
Completely agree with that.
Nothing for you.
Yeah. You take away all rugby league context when you make that call.
Yeah, tell me what he's supposed to do. There are going to be injuries. People are going to get concussions, all that stuff. It is rugby league. Tell me how that is 10 in the bin than some of the other head highs we've seen earlier in the year that are players that are fully upright getting completely head high. There was one on the weekend that I don't think he got 10 in the bin, and it was like a shoulder charge to the bloody head nearly. Not 10 in the bin. Ray Stone trying to cut through the middle. So he's doing everything you're asking him to do, which is changing his target zone from chest to belly. The guy falls, he hits him in the head. He gets 10 in the bin.
And adding fuel to the sin bin conversation last week and what it entails, conceded 2 tries while he was off. Game over.
Game over. Then you look at the Raiders game, and I know the Raiders still lost, but Jordan Rapana slides in with his knees and nearly takes Katoa's head off. It wasn't even a penalty or even an 8-point try.
Yeah.
And so with these situations where the player literally can't do anything. Now, I understand if they only slip a little bit, you can make the argument, just make your target a little bit lower so even if they do slip, you don't hit them. If you want to go there, okay, just be consistent with it. But when you're aiming essentially for below sternum and they fall, he physically cannot do anything to change that. So why is he in the bin for 10 minutes and they basically lost the game for it? Makes no sense. No sense.
You add that in and you look at the Dolphins, you're all right, not a great night for them, but they were up, would have been, I think, 8-0 after 38 minutes of this game. They conceded that Joey Manu try right on half-time. They lost Lemuelu about 23 minutes in. Then they lost Kenny Bromwich just after half-time. The sin bin came in, conceded a few. It could have been it was a very different story at half-time. It was... Again, the scoreline blew out a bit, but the sign once again, we say it with them every week, but there's ticker there, run out of steam.
Do we know what's going on with Lemuelu? That's 2 HIAs in a pretty short amount of time. And
they'll probably see him
the
out for the
first one was harsh. Personally, that was an interesting one. A few weeks ago.
There was nothing in that first one, yeah.
So I hope he doesn't. If he has to miss games, so be it, but Tough one.
Yeah, Dolphins. I think they're in such a good position as a club. They got apparently when they came into the club, they had $80 million in the bank, so they got essentially unlimited resources. They've gone from a team that couldn't sign anyone to. I think there's a lot of players out there that would love the challenge because the Dolphins have delivered and said, okay, things haven't gone as we hoped towards the end of the year, but we are showing so much ticker, so much fight, even when things go. They don't put it this way. I think there are a few more undesirable clubs than the Dolphins by quite a while, quite a lot.
Distance, yes, 100%.
Flegler arriving, Herbie arriving. Like Herbie will shore up their defence massively on the edges there. Herbie and Avarillo arriving will probably be able to put Hamiso at the fullback. Then you've got Flegler in the middle. They've also got Tommy Gilbert to come back as well. I'm excited for the Dolphins, and I think that with the roster they get together before next year, if they land maybe one or two, I think that they will be fighting for the 8 next year, or at least you should be hoping for a top 8 finish next year.
Yeah, I think they'll be close to fighting for the 8 next year. If we sort of said at the start of this year, obviously none of us expect them to go this good, but they need a good injury run. It has been tough this year, but I think especially if they do get a good injury run next year with those guys that they're signing, if the key guys can just stay on the field, I think they can definitely get the top 8 a real shake.
Yeah.
There's also there's a lot of things they've gone through this year that they've just been able to manage through, like Isaiah Katoa. Defensively, teams have just been picking him apart week in, week out, but he just keeps on showing a jersey every week, and he'll only be better for that heading into next season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys like that in that.
I can't wait to see Isaiah Katoa in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He's going to be such a good player for this.
And it has been tough for them with smaller halves this season, especially when O'Sullivan was out for such a long time. But like Katoa, he got torn apart on the weekend at the edge of him and Tafade. But as I said, he's so young. First full year of NRL, he'll build so much off the back of it.
And despite talking him up all season, we spoke about it all off season, defense is going to be his biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And that was very evident in that World Cup. So it should be for a 19-year-old coming from SG ball COVID years into first grade.
And as a fan, I personally believe, if you're a fan of the Dolphins, you can cop this because you go, there's a clear plan here. Okay, yes, defensively he's missing, but we're a club that's trying to win a premiership in 5 years. We're not a club that's trying to make the 8 in 2 or 3 years and then fucking sit around 10th for the rest of our lives. That's why you stick with Isaiah Katoa, because in 4 or 5 years, when you are ready to make a charge towards the premiership, which I do believe they will be, because by that stage, recruitment won't be an issue. By that stage, they have incredible resources, incredible support. I think they're laying the foundations for a bloody good footy club. They really are.
And it's very similar to what I said about the Titans when they signed their 2 big boys. They're going to be 2 guys that are going to be in Origin for the next years. They'll attract more people. You've now got Flegler, who's going to be in Origin every single year. You got Tommy Gilbert, Hamiso.
Yep.
You've got guys that are going to be there every single year now.
Yep.
Shout out to Jared Wallace for channeling Tommy Turbo Origin 2021, dislocating his shoulder to get that ball out the back to Osako.
Matt Gidley.
That was unbelievable.
Mate, Jared Wallace has been outstanding.
If the best, most athletic centres in the NRL do that, you go, that's incredible, let alone a front rower.
A big fella. Throwing out the back like that. Unbelievable. He ran for 163 metres in 17 runs. He had 4 offloads, 28 tackles, and a try assist in 61 minutes. I mean, Wayne, he's magic to get. He couldn't get a start at the Titans. And now he's at the Dolphins, genuinely impacting games. He's like their impact front, like forward.
I'd love to know how Jared Wallace finds himself in that position.
Yeah.
To go, hey, I'm the guy to sweep here.
Yep.
So good.
And you look at it as well, Anthony Milford was purchased as their leading half.
Yep.
He hasn't really been that for them.
No, not even close.
And they've still managed to find a way.
Even when Sean O'Sullivan was injured, Milford wasn't really the lead guy either.
Yeah. Yep. And you got Cody Nikorima. I know he's a little bit quiet on the weekend, but he's been outstanding at fullback. So I think Dolphins fans, this is kind of the inevitable running out of puff. I know Wayne wouldn't be happy with this result, but I think as a fans, you've got to be pretty stoked with the way the boys are going.
I think especially on Cody Nikorima. I remember when he played fullback for South last year, I had his papers marked, never to play fullback ever again.
Yep.
Might be his best position.
Yeah, it's crazy, eh? Wayne Bennett, he's a magician. He's a magician. Now, on to Storm versus the Raiders, brought to you by Bloke Beer, because, geez, this win didn't. Nothing's ever tasted so sweet.
I agree. I love the stuff.
Yeah. No. Storm versus the Raiders, 48-2. Our Storm back, I think we've been through this. Like I've been in a glass cage of emotion with the Storm this year because like 1 week they're back, next week they're not, 1 week they're back. I think it's the closest to me saying they are back. I will say, and I don't want to be rude or disrespectful to the Raiders, I think they've earned this loss. This loss has been coming for a few weeks now. And they've just gotten away with beating lower tier sides by pure grit and determination. You get against the top tier sides, you can't afford to be having the errors and everything that they've had in those past few weeks. I think this loss has been coming for quite a while for at least 3 or 4 weeks for the Raiders. It's exactly, I think if they are to make a charge, it's exactly what they needed. If they had to just get through games, losing by 6 for the rest of the year, I think they just get completely just dominated in the round 1 of the finals. I think this is exactly what they needed to remind them, boys, we need to reset and go again. Timmy, what do you think of the game, mate?
Yeah, I'm a bit the same, mate. I low-key felt this coming for a while, that it had been building. I didn't think it would be to this extent. I really didn't. And it was also a matchup where, look, I mean, in the tips, I had Melbourne, and I didn't expect the Raiders to win the game, but I did think like our matchup was all right in the sense that we have a good record against Melbourne, we've got a good record against Melbourne down there, and we've got this big forward pack that's our strength against what have we questioned all year for Melbourne? It's been their middles. They ran for 700 more metres than us. Line breaks 10-0. Pretty damning numbers. Like, it's hard to come up with any positives for the Raiders. On Melbourne's end, they were outstanding, and while it might look like a light game for them, but at the end of the day, the Raiders were sitting 5th on the ladder off the back of having a really good, dominant forward pack all season, and they just made them look B-grade.
I think my Raiders highlight was Ricky's press conference. Did you see it? They said to Ricky, they go, what'd you say to him at half time? And he said, you're allowed to talk to him now, aren't you? You go and ask him yourself. Well, that's unreal.
As if you would ask any questions in that press conference. You walk in, everyone just be quiet, be like, and we're done. I was way too scared.
He would have been pissed off, Ricky, too. He loves this game against Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
He loves it.
His record's great in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they won the last 5 in Melbourne or some shit like that. It's crazy. But the Storm, outstanding game by the Storm. One of their best all year, easily. Nick Meaney was outstanding. But this is where I really felt, probably not the first time, but maybe probably the first time all year where I looked at that spine and said, holy shit, that spine is top tier. You know, I know Pappy, he played well in New South Wales Cup. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But watching the spine on the weekend, I was like, oh, that can compete with Penrith. That can compete with the Brisbane Broncos. Matter of fact, you know, you could make the argument that spine is probably arguably better than the Broncos, maybe just under the Panthers. So, I mean, even maybe better than the Panthers, purely just the spine. When you look at Munster, Hughes, and Grant,
it's not arguably better than him. It's unbelievable, their spine.
Yeah. So you look at that and you go, oh, my God. Because you look at the forwards and you go, okay, you would expect after a game like that for the forwards of the Storm to absolutely pound the Raiders in regards to metres. But Kamikamitha, 17 metres. Trent Leoro, 102 metres. Josh King, 130. Nelson Asafa-Solomona, 103. Whereas you look at the backs, it's actually the backs, 163, 177, 177, 192, 105, 171, that made all the metres for the Storm. And that's the really interesting thing is have they found the sweet spot of going, okay, we have a battler forward pack that should be good defenders, so maybe we need to lean a bit more heavily into almost a Penrith style of like the backs are the ones that make all the metres and our forwards are just there to defend, because it was the most complete performance probably all year from the Storm for me.
Obviously the spine, we'll talk about them or not. Mate, I want to give those two centres a shout out, Marion Seve and young Tonamapea. Like, they've never really been established first graders, but every time they come in, I sit there and go, geez, how aren't these guys getting regular gigs in first grade? And I think the Melbourne Storm, like, they would be so stoked to have these two sit in their reserve grade team, just ready to go whenever. When you chuck in, you know, a Jennings onto that list as well, like, their depth is unreal.
In the backs. Yeah, definitely getting... And like Remus Smith, I actually didn't mind Remus Smith on the wing. I thought he did a job. I actually thought when he was at Canterbury he was going to be a better winger, that he did really well at centre. I think he could have a home there. And I mean, Justin Olam's still playing for Falcons up there. Yeah.
Depth is crazy.
Yeah.
So then you look at, you mentioned Meaney, 18 runs for 170 metres. a line break, a line assist, 2 try assists, 10 tackle breaks, 6 from 8, scored a try. Ryan Pappenhausen, you mentioned, in Queensland Cup, 2 line break assists, converted 6 goals, a line break, a try, 19 runs, 2 try assists, 6 tackle breaks, couple of offloads.
Far out.
Oof.
It's going to be interesting. Like, do you put me on a wing maybe and Pappy at the back?
Poor old Nick Meaney. Like, it seems inevitable, but I don't know. Like, I guess I said a wing, I guess, but I reckon Pappy now, that was his first 80-minute game back, second game back from injury.
I reckon you give him another.
I reckon one more 80-minute in Q Cup.
Yep.
Round 26, 20 minutes off the bench for the Storm, first grade, and then 80 minutes round 27 if he's looking all right. But Nick Meaney might be the most unlucky footballer of all time if he gets brushed here.
Career best
like
form.
Entirely brushed.
I think they'll probably find a spot for him in the wing just because he's almost earned it. Surely he could do a job.
Drops out.
Well, Warbrick's out anyway at the moment.
I think he was injured for a week or something. There's nothing major, I don't think.
Well, I would, out of loyalty to Meaney and what he's done, I would just go, mate, you've earned that wing spot. I've got to talk about Cam Munster, Jerome Hughes, 177 metres for Munster, 163 for Hughes, and 124 for Grant. Like, those are insane numbers for your halves. Like, a couple of years ago, if you said, our halves did 170, 160, 124, you'd go, what? You're kidding. You're joking. And yet, that's exactly what they did. And so maybe they have found the sweet spot. I'm not sure. I'm not confident enough to say they're definitely back. But I do think they've taken a step closer to finding out what is the Storm style of rugby league for 2023. I think they've been searching for that for the season. And it seems like maybe they've found their formula.
There's a handful. Obviously, there's a few teams you don't want to play come finals, but this team has to be right up.
Oh,
there,
mate, fuck that.
Like, especially as far as a Penrith Panthers or a Brisbane for a home final week 1. I don't want to invite money in.
Oh, mate, no way. And the form Hughes is in right now.
Yeah.
Harry Grant as well. Stuff that. I thought King was really good at 13. Really good at 13. One of his better games. 130 metres. 2 tackle breaks, 29 tackles, only 1 miss. I think he got through a mountain of work. Really, really good performance for the Storm. And I still would say Penrith and Broncos are the 2 at the top. But another performance like this, now it turns into a 3-horse race.
Yeah.
And then it gets really, really interesting. I think they're very, very close to becoming a threat to teams.
It's going to be interesting to see, like, round 27, Melbourne play Brisbane. That's Suncorp.
It'd be a huge match.
Where I mean, if Brisbane's locked up a top 2 spot, do you think they'll rest players or? Because I think there's every chance that Brisbane could have a top 2 spot locked up, and I think there's every chance Melbourne could have a top 3 or 4 spot locked up that they can't move from.
Are we experienced enough to rest players?
Especially with the bye this week.
I reckon they definitely would have if it wasn't for the bye this week. But the bye this week, well, if they sat players out, they'd be then missing 2 out of 3 weeks leading in. So probably they might just look like play reduced minutes and give Payne Hash 35 minutes.
Or like Renault, comes off and they put on.
Something like that. You make like you carry Madden on the bench, something, give it whatever.
What a fucking game it's going to be though. Round 27, Storm keep flying like they are, and then Bronx as well. Be a massive game.
Well, hopefully Brisbane are playing for a minor premiership, and hopefully Melbourne's playing for
top 4.
Because it could be a nothing game.
Yeah, because they're both top. So really, really good stuff from the Storm. Nick Meaney, just what a credit again to the Storm system. A guy that Fringy essentially gets down to the Storm and has just slowly but surely worked on his game week in, week out, and then he puts in a performance like that. And it's scary for the rest of the comp that Cam Munster, Harry Grant and Hughes are coming into this kind of form heading into finals footy.
Yep.
It is scary. So who knows? Maybe Bellamy has timed this perfectly. Maybe he's timed the season to perfection where he's gone, you know what? All my players have had a huge couple of years. Origin, obviously the World Cup. Just ease them into it, and now we're seeing them start peak because they were outstanding on the weekend. Trent Leoro, I thought he was really good as well. 102 metres, obviously. 30 tackles, obviously scored the try.
He was good. He's been a little unsung hero for them this year.
They're just getting better and better. I think that not enough credit has been given, and we try to on the show, but when you look at a guy like Leoro, you look at guys like Tepe Maora, Alec McDonald, well, he didn't play, but you look at these guys and they're at the almost, I know Maora, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, Maora, I know he's not at the start of his career, but he's almost restarting his career. And then you've got Trent Leoro, like he's a guy that's at the start of his career. You've got Alec McDonald, another guy that came out of Q Cup at the start of his career. Like, that's a pretty, even though they're not like 18, 19 years old, these are guys that haven't played like 100 NRL games. Like, they're still learning their craft.
Which even in their, their most successful years, Melbourne, they always had 2 or 3 of these guys.
And what's crazy as well, they managed to dominate as much as they did. Nelson only ran for 103 metres and they had 1 tackle break.
Great sign for them.
It's a great sign. So really good stuff for the Storm. Now, the Raiders, definitely a warning shot as to where they are in the comp. I'm still not convinced. Like, I'm still worried that they might fall out of the 8. Now, it's going to be really hard. They'd have to basically go loss. But like the problem is they haven't been playing good footy and then they just rocked up and played poor footy. They've been winning games whilst playing poor footy, and they haven't really. I'm trying to think of a game where they really put together 80 minutes of really good rugby league, and my concern is that because they haven't done it yet, when the pressure's on, will they do it? What do you boys think about the Raiders?
Yeah, I'm not ruling out them falling out of the top. Like, they've obviously got Canterbury this week. Maybe I'm hoping against hope, but I'm expecting a Raiders bounce back in that game.
Yeah,
We've lost 3 of our last 4, and we beat the Tigers just.
Yeah. Do you reckon you beat Canterbury this week?
Absolutely.
Mate, I tell you what, if they don't, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, then after that, they got Brisbane into the Sharkies, and if the Sharkies are back, Jesus, that is a tough run home all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Also,
And with your
Cowboys,
Broncos off the bye.
and Cowboys are only 1 win outside the 8 right now. As in, not even 1 win, they're just on differential. So if they drop 2 games and the other teams like the Rabbitohs and Cowboys just win their 2 games, boom, gone.
Yeah, I suppose the big advantage for the Raiders, or the thing that helps them, is that South play Newcastle this week. At least they're playing each other. They can buy you a little bit of time there. Like, if they weren't playing each other and they both had wins lined up, you're in trouble all of a sudden.
Timmy, thoughts on any performances for the Raiders?
Pretty disappointing. Oh, not pretty disappointing. Extremely disappointing, mate. It's sort of been seeing a down performance, like proper down performance, and I suppose result coming for a while. I just feel it's the same things that we've spoken about the last month. They're just, attack looks so lackluster. There's nothing creative. There's no X factor in there. I want to ask the question, and I know Ricky Stewart won't do it, but I've always been such a big fan of Jack Whiten at fullback. And in some respects, this sounds really harsh because you go, well, with the Raiders, with what they've got and the spine we've spoken about all season, we've had a really good season. Well, I think we're in the top 8. We're, probably not going to happen now, but outside chance of the top 4. That was the dagger for us on the weekend, losing to Melbourne. But, like, even if we get to finals, is there any belief that, and what do you guys think as neutrals, that we can go in there and be competitive and, shake things up and maybe make a run to a prelim final or something with what we're running at the moment? Or do you do something like put Jack White into fullback? It won't happen, but where I've always thought I think it's his spot fullback, and you can put Jordan Rapana back on a wing. You can bring Matt Frawley into the halves, who with Jamal, I think takes a lot of pressure off Jack. You can let him do what he does best, and that's run the ball. I like it. I really do.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I would force Jackie into the game. I think sometimes at 6, like, he doesn't know when to run, when not to run, and it kind of
kicking, getting around the park,
and all that kind of stuff. So I don't mind it, especially with Jackie, not having the best year. He's probably one of his worst years in a few years now, and so sometimes you just go, look, let's just freshen it up and force him to take 15 to 20 carries.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's been a good year. We've had good results, but we're getting along. We've been gritty, but I want a side going into, let's say we get to week 1 of finals, that go, no matter who we're up against in that 5 to 8, that we can beat them and we can put on a show and have some X factor and have something extra in attack that right now I don't think we do. And I'm just like, I don't want to get to finals and be out first week and go, cool, solid season, but straight out.
Yeah.
I want to be competitive and I want to scare teams come week 1 of finals. And Jack White at fullback, I think that can do it.
Well, and also he's got enough ball playing for fullback as well.
Absolutely,
Whereas, put it this way, he's a better ball runner, he's a better ball player than all your options at fullback, and it forces him. He doesn't have to think about it. You just go, Jackie, we need 15 to 20 runs. Whereas at 6, sometimes you can't afford to have 15 to 20 runs because you need to hold shape, You need to be passing the ball, so I don't mind it.
I think the answer lies in if I'm playing the Raiders this week, I feel much more comfortable knowing Jack's sitting on the left edge.
There you
playing
go.
fullback.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
And if you are going to keep him in the halves, again, knocking down the same door I have all year, but just, Jack, play both sides, sweep.
Yeah.
Get Jamal, be the number 7. He's first receiver. Jack, sweep off him both times because he looks so much better when he just gets a little bit wider.
And whenever he does pop up on the right, it's lethal.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
All right, now on to Knights defeat the Bulldogs 42-6. Massive win for the Knights. Obviously, the biggest talking point coming out of it, Jackson Hastings, looks like a syndesmosis.
Yes, but they've confirmed that he might play this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I said it obviously before the podcast off air, those injuries look and they actually hurt way more than they actually, the damage they do. When you do injuries like that, it feels like you are out for the season. It's so painful. They actually settle down really quickly. Sometimes it's actually sounds fucking stupid, but like the more painful it is and the more they're like rolling around, sometimes it's actually, okay, it's not as bad as the ones where they're just, sitting there like, oh, fuck, I'm done here. And so as soon as Hastings went down like that, I actually was pretty confident. I actually thought he was going to be back in 2 weeks. But even this week, all it is usually swelling with stuff like that. Now, you can get ones that are terrible and they really fuck your ankle. We've seen plenty of players miss 4 to 6 weeks. But I think I'd be surprised if he's not back on the field at the very latest of 2 weeks. In regards to the tackle, I love Jacob Preston as a player. He's been so good all year. But that's one of the ones where we've got to go hard at. I'm actually quite surprised he only got 2 weeks. Now, I know it's his first offence, but I actually think something is obviously... bad technique is that. And I don't think Preston meant it. I just think that heat of the battle, you're trying to get someone down, you're not thinking, you lose your legs, but I think something like that you've got to go quite harsh at.
Yeah, and I think yesterday when Jackson came off the field, Jackson's obviously a pretty emotional guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. I think you just see on his face he knew the season wasn't over. I think if it was, he would have had it written across his face in a neon sign just about. But tough for Jackson, even scary yesterday that obviously his season ended last year with that Pat Carrigan tackle out of his control. If it would have happened again this year on the doorstep of finals with the Knights, that would have been devastating.
After everything he's done for this,
the
leading him into the 8. So, yeah, look, 2 weeks, first offence, I guess, I'm not super angry at it, but I do think that if I was in charge, I probably would have given him a couple more weeks just because if we're trying to send a message like we say we are, it's not about whether he has a first offence or not. It's about we're trying to send it to everyone else. Do not do this tackle.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And it was no like split second thing. There was no awkward fall. Like you could see him lift his legs to his chest and fall. Yeah. And it just, I don't think he meant to land on the ankle, but I do believe he was trying to use his weight to pull him down, and it just went all wrong. So
I think that if Jackson's been told he's a chance this weekend, playing South Sydney, who are 8th when they're 7th in Newcastle, even if he's just directing traffic, I'd be surprised if Jackson doesn't play now.
Yeah, which would be good for everyone because I'm sure Jacob Preston is feeling terrible right now.
I reckon he'd feel awful.
Yeah, he'd feel terrible. So for no second do I think he intentionally did that at all.
Yeah.
I just think that it's almost natural if you're hanging off someone to lift your feet to try and use your body weight to pull them to the ground.
I don't think there's... In fact, I'm confident there's not an intentional hip drop.
No. You'd have to be a terrible person to be doing that shit.
Like when people do a head high, they can go in with this real bad intent and just a bit too aggressive and a bit loose in that.
Yep.
A hip drop is a tackle that they're trying to get on top of, but the defenders and the players are still... It's going to take a long time to get us out of the game because it's something they've been doing since they were 5 years old.
Yeah. It's just so natural make your feet leave the ground. And the problem with the hip drop is that so many tackles, the same technique is used, but they don't land on their legs, so it's not an issue. Whereas like a swinging arm is a very calculated decision.
Reckless.
So yeah, anyway, with the Knights, what a bloody win. What a win. At home, initially the Bulldogs came out storming. I was going far out. Bulldogs are on here.
They look good the first 15.
They look fantastic. And then the Knights
hits.
just went, we stood the pressure. And I hate to bring it up, but what was the turning point? I think we all know what the turning point was. Offload from Tavita Pangai Jr.
Yeah.
The game just completely flipped.
Yeah. Catapulted with, Harrison Edwards, bin 15th minute, Preston 23rd. It's like, oof.
Mate,
Don't give the Knights that sniff.
with Tavita, I just would just go, you know what? I reckon if you said to Tavita, 80 minutes, I don't want to I don't even care if there's a try on. I don't want a single offload. He would be arguably one of the most damaging ball runners in the competition. He'd make 250 metres, 200 to 250 metres a game if you said to him. And that's more valuable than the offload that's every now and then gets a line break, in my opinion. Just bizarre.
Sorry, no, continue.
I was going to say, just on that Harrison, just on that, definitely a sin bin. I will say, though, the Knights was Dom Young, holds back one of the players. They dropped the ball. I don't even think it was a penalty. And it wasn't on the try line, but it was a line break situation. So you could argue it's a professional foul, maybe a try-scoring situation. Wasn't even a penalty. So they get 10. The Bulldogs get 10 in the bin. The exact same thing happens essentially. I know that the Bulldogs one was right on the try line, but it was pretty similar. The only difference was one was 40 out and one was 5 out. They get not even a penalty, and the other get 10 in the bin. How does that make sense?
Yeah, at least a penalty.
Come on.
Yeah. But I thought one very positive thing to take out of this for Newcastle, and I guess we didn't actually mention it with the Sharks, but like you come out of this game with Knights winning 42-6. KP has 1 try assist, 1 line break assist. I think the Sharkies came out of their big win with Nico having 1 try assist or something. Very positive signs there.
And lost Jackson Hastings 24 minutes in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it took them a while to recover from Jacko being off the field, but they also didn't lose the plot during that period.
It's the Tyson Gamble show.
It's the Tyson Gamble show. That's right. That's why bloody Tyson Gamble. Cam Munster at your heart out. It's bloody gamble time, baby. What a few weeks ago, I was like, I'm not sure that he can get him into finals footy. And now they're bloody in finals footy.
Yeah.
Gamble has been outstanding for the last month of rugby league. And you said it best before the show, Kuru, with Gamble, is like, if you took away what you knew of Gamble and you just watched the last month of footy, or even this year, you'd say that's a bloody good 6.
I think he's shown enough to say next year that he gets elevated over Munster for Origin 1. It's the big call that has to be made, and we know Billy will make it. Billy's not afraid to shake things up. He dropped Kalen Ponga this year. He drops Munster next year. Gambling. Proud Brisbane boy.
Oh, that's great. Mate, but he has been so good. He's been so good this last month of rugby league, and also solid for the year. It makes it even more bizarre that the signing of Cogger, like, where's he going to fit in? Like, at the moment, you can't drop Gamble. You at least need to give Gamble a fair crack at the 6 next year, and surely Hastings not getting dropped.
Nah, you know what else I think is really interesting with Gamble? Obviously on the weekend, like Hastings played 24 minutes, yeah? He only kicked the ball once in 24 minutes. Granted, Gamble played the full 80, but he kicked the ball 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Last week, both played the full 80. Jacko kicked the ball 7 times, Gamble kicked the ball 7 times. Both kicked for 150 metres.
Yeah, mate, he's playing bloody good.
Even when Tyson Gamble kicks a football, I always watch him hit a ball and I go, he's topped that. And in the air, it looks awful, but it just keeps going and going and going.
His technique is not the best.
Technique's all over the place.
Mate, he's been so good this last month. He has been so
and
good.
The right edge again, like we speak about the Knights left edge and how good it is all the time. On the weekend, even before Hastings went off, it was Gagai, Young and Gamble on that right edge carving up.
What about how good has Gagai been?
Yeah.
He's a fucking beast, man.
I reckon he had that bad cold that was going around during the week too. That has knocked a lot of players around over the last few weeks from what I've gathered. And what is he, 32, 33, 11 tackle breaks? He just does it again. Oh, that try he scored, that was insane.
Mate, he's so bloody good. I love the ticker. Like, so easy for him to sook after what happened this year. You know, arguably an Origin legend. You know, for the last 10 years or let's say 5 years, whatever it is, he's had some of the craziest moments in Origin. He won Player of the Series from the Sting, gets dropped, and doesn't kick rocks. He just keeps turning up, and because he's not at one of the top tier clubs, it's almost like his club footy gets forgotten about a little bit. But he's been outstanding so far this year.
There was a play, I think it might have been you I was talking to about it last night. There was a play that he's done a few times this year where he gets quick ball and he just bats it on with one hand to Dom Young. And they never give a try assist for that, but Christ, it should be.
Yeah, absolutely it should be. Absolutely it should be.
I think sometimes they get a line break assist for it, but even sometimes they don't. Sometimes they give it to the inside pass. But the way he does it.
He would have got the one yesterday because to getting super nerdy NRL. Depends where you go on NRL.com or Fox Sports, but NRL.com will give a last touch, but a tip on because they don't pass it, they don't award it.
It's actually more of a try assist because it's bloody harder.
100%
That one,
at that pace.
I don't know what you boys thought, but the one that he tipped on with Dom Young at full pace, where I can't remember what it was, but they ran at Burton's outside shoulder, and it was like you knew they were going to call it, but like Birdo wasn't getting anywhere near that.
Yeah. So the Newey Knights, how good. And, the good thing with Adam O'Brien is you got KP playing as close to his career best footy. You got Dom Young killing it, and you've got Marju outstanding. But then you've got the depth of Tuala, comes in, plays outstanding as well. And this is a sign of some of the better sides is when they've got guys like Tuala who can't even get a start because the backline's so good. And then you look at a guy like Leo Thompson, his development. A sign of a coach that's, I guess, starting to come into his own is how good are the players playing compared to their talent. A guy like Leo Thompson is playing at his potential and getting better each week. A guy like Lachie Fitzgibbon, probably his best year of his whole career. Adam Elliott, playing outstanding footy the last few weeks. I'm loving what the Knights are doing. I really am.
I've been looking at Fitzgibbon for 5 years thinking if he left next year, they wouldn't miss him. Now he finally is. I'm going, fuck, they're going to miss Fitzgibbon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've even got Newey fans messaging going, I can't believe they're getting rid of Fitzgibbon or letting him go. It's like, mate, the last 5 years he has been okay. It's only been this year where he's been outstanding. I'll
tell you what else I noticed in this game. And obviously Jackson wasn't on the field, so that changed a lot. But just when they moved Phoenix out of 9, they lost everything through the middle there.
Yeah.
It looked completely different.
And in Phoenix's, to back that point up, they move him from 9, he goes to 7, they score 30 points or whatever it is. That shows you the environment they're currently in, where they can get a guy who had so many shots at 7, struggled, gets put there, and all of a sudden they can score all these points. It's looking real good for the Knights, and I hope they play finals footy. Can you imagine the Knights in finals footy, how good it would be?
Yeah, be unreal.
Fucking hell.
A home final at Newey would be unreal.
Could you imagine Steel City, home final?
And just my if I was Adam O'Brien, my whole thing to KP would be, you missed Origin. This is your
Origin
grand final now.
I don't want to see KP in finals footy.
Oh, absolutely. Anything else stand out for you for the Knights, boys?
Nah, just a good win all around.
Now, onto the Dogs. Really, really concerning. I cannot stress enough how concerning that performance was. Full strength side, I understand that combinations aren't going to be, they're going to take a while. Some of the decisions as well, to start Luke Thompson and Tavita.
Luke Thompson, having been out for so long, came and started and let through the opening tries. Not solely him, but it was just guys, you don't need to rush him back.
That's what I mean. So Luke Thompson hasn't played any footy for a year. So I know he missed the tackles, but I feel sorry for him.
Just having to start in a game like that.
And Tavita.
Yeah.
Tavita Pangai Jr., the guy we know gets gas quickly, is starting with another guy who hasn't played in a year. I don't understand that decision making.
I thought it was very evident very early, even before that try that Luke Thompson, he wasn't a run short, he was a paddock short.
Yeah.
He was not ready to run out in that game.
It's unfair.
It was very unfair. It was very evident very quickly.
And of course Luke Thompson's going to want to get on there and start. He's a player, he's a competitor. That's where I feel like the coaching staff need to make the right call for him, the mature call. Yeah. To start Tavita Pangai Jr., a guy notoriously unfit, or not unfit, but can only go a certain amount of minutes, and another guy that hasn't played all year, absolutely bizarre call in my opinion.
If you want him in the top grade, just bring about 20 off the bench, a bit later into the game, not that first opening, the intense first 20.
Absolutely bizarre.
I can't believe they started TPJ. He only played 27 minutes. They didn't bring him back up later.
Look, you can look, definitely the players, have to look at themselves because some of their decision making and misses in defence were just not at NRL standard. But I've got to say, some of these decisions are just not making sense from Ciraldo. Yeah. They're just not making sense.
Every single bench forward played more minutes than Tavita. Liam Knight, Corey Waddell, Harrison Edwards. If you can't get the best out of Tavita to give him more minutes than those three guys, respectfully to them, what's going on?
What is going on? And, unfortunately, this roster cannot afford to start and lose the first 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So you get your best battlers on at first that are going to win that first 20 and not gas out, and then you bring on guys for punch. It's strange, man. I don't understand some of these decisions. And we go back a few weeks ago when they played the Knights a while ago, and he had Alamotti. I'm forgetting his name. He's a young gun from Lebanon.
Kiraz?
No.
Rajab.
Rajab.
Yeah.
And then another youngish winger as well, all on one side. And they got torn to bits, so much so that Rajab got taken off. And I don't think Rajab's been back in the squad since.
No, I don't think so. You know, I was just thinking as well, like, they played TPJ for 27 minutes. They had 2 sin bins. They spent 28 minutes defending with 18 minutes or whatever, defending with 12 or less players. And did TPJ get injured or something? Like, how does that... If that's what occurred, I missed it, but...
Maybe.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm looking at... So, Harrison Edwards, 55 minutes. Corey Waddell, 45 minutes. Thompson, 35 minutes.
Mate, TPJ did that in 2 stints. I don't think he was injured. 14 minutes and 12 minutes.
14 minutes? I just don't think you should be starting a guy like Tavita Pangai Jr. And I think that's been evident for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought it was really unfair on Luke Thompson. Now, in the Dogs' defence, they had 2 sin bins, but we watched the Gold Coast Titans only a week ago with 12 men go against a top three side, Warrior side, and take him to the death.
So, sorry to bring up his name again, but it's more so about the coaching decisions. But
Guru's rattled.
TPJ came on for the last 12 minutes. So it wasn't like he came on in the 50th and got a knock or something like that. He came on in the last 12 minutes. So they're starting front row at TPJ, who, you know, I personally think he's their most talented front row forward.
Well, easily.
But if you're going to start him, why then wait until he was playing Origins?
Yeah, I was going to say, the same bloke was picked for the Blues 3 months ago.
Mate,
It's hard to put it together.
The only players in the side that ran for over 100 metres, there was Kiraz, 112, and then Corey Waddell, to his credit, 16 runs for 140 metres. Everyone else was sub 100.
I'd be starting Waddell over Tavita.
Yes.
I would be starting the battlers, even Edwards. Edwards might have started, but he wouldn't have Preston. I think. Like, I'll be starting the battlers, get them through the work, and then you bring on. I don't understand that. It's almost like they're flipping it. They want to win the first 20, and then hope that the battlers come on and hold on. I don't think the Bulldogs have the luxury of, say, a Penrith that can go, we'll start Kenny and bring Api Coruscant on. Like, I don't think they have that luxury.
Is Curtis Moran injured? Is he... he was one that, when I was watching them a few weeks ago, he was the one that sort of stood out for me. I'm just having a look at their cup side to see if he's there. Yeah, he scored the second try on the weekend. He's the sort of guy that when I was watching him, I was thinking, this guy's a goer.
Yeah, he has like a few bad reads him every now and then, but you're right, in regards to the attitude that he brings, it can't be much worse than what's currently happening.
He did play, but that was his first reserve grade game since round 11.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. So since round 11, but he played first grade.
No, that's what I mean. Like, he played first grade.
Yeah.
Like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played reserve grade.
So he's been injured for a couple of weeks then?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what I'd say.
Rajab played 5'8" for him too.
I'd be starting Max King.
Max, I think, did he start or was he benched?
No, it was Luke Thompson and Tavita, wasn't it? In the front row?
Good God.
Or did one of them play 13?
King started, Thompson played lock. So yeah, the 3 middles were Thompson, TPJ, King.
That's Thompson at lock? In his first game back in a year? And we look at all the stats of the other locks, it's like 50 tackles, 160... mate, I don't know. I know they make a joke, and I do believe, you need to be patient. It's a rookie coach, but they are nowhere near where they should be as a team. Yeah. Nowhere near it.
That's the thing. Like, all year you can excuse because they've had messed up injuries, but that's a first grade squad yesterday.
Oh, absolutely,
Not
it's a first grade
like
squad.
a first grade team.
Matt Burton, like, we saw him go into Origin and kill it. Sexton, we know he's a good player. Like, Addo Carr had 11 runs. I don't know. I can't remember any good ball he got or any plays that were set up for him.
Well, they're playing him on the right wing now. That's another one.
Switched
I
him
just
and Wilson.
cannot make any sense of that at all.
Mate,
Wasn't that where you were scoring literally all your points?
him and Burton were like
and Fox
the best combo ever.
Unbelievable last year.
And now they pretty much don't let Burton cross the black the black dot, and then they keep it's
frustrating because a couple of weeks ago with Sexton there, I'm going, yep, this is mad. Then they get their roster back and it's...
Geez, I hope they finish the year well, and just for the Doggies fans out there and going, the fact they are building towards 24 and beyond, geez, we could see some good signs. Not this week against the Raiders, but the following 2 weeks, if they can put it together.
My concern is, I know the Tigers are losing, Brooksy and Laurie and that, but these two rosters beside each other with the way they're playing, I think the Tigers roster is substantially better. I'm quite surprised at how far the Dogs have fallen off since the start of the season.
Well, and even like we spoke about it a few weeks ago. I think you brought it up, Timmy, where you said, geez, all things considered, the Canterbury New South Wales Cup team, they're well and truly out in front. They're winning. They're now in 4th place. Like they're 7 points off the leader now.
So the whole club has gone a little bit backwards.
It's so weird, isn't it?
mid-year.
Because when they had the injury crisis for the majority of the season, they were killing it. Now they've got players back, and the New South Wales Cup have gone downhill. I cannot make any sense.
In round 17, they were outright coming first. Now they've dropped to 4th.
Wow, what?
I wonder whether the current group that Ciraldo didn't bring in aren't reacting to his coaching the way he would hope. Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's anyway.
Tough one.
Yeah, not much positives to talk about in regards to the Dogs on the weekend. Even a guy like Kikau, I feel like he needs to get way more involved. I know he's a big body, but he's been back for what? It's been 4 or 5 weeks now. 4 weeks.
Has it been that many? I would have said 2 or 3. I don't know.
Maybe.
They had a buy in there, didn't? Yeah, so maybe it might be 4 or 5. Yeah.
Well, Dolphins would have been what? At least 4 weeks ago, surely, or maybe 3.
And that's the other most disappointing thing about this game. They had, I think, 15 days to prep for it. He's had a buy in there.
That was his second.
Oh, it's his second game.
Yeah.
So that buy is what's thrown us out.
I think the week before that, too, he
Okay.
was spoken about. He might have even been named the week before he didn't play. So
Yeah, it's off the bye. They should have been fresh.
yeah,
Like
15
it's-
days ready to prepare for that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I cut him a little bit of slack in regards to match fitness then, but hopefully he can build into more
Jeez,
runs.
there was a
isn't it?
shot he put on. Was that
man.
Phoenix?
On Phoenix.
Yeah.
Far out. Great
Still feeling
shot.
that one or what?
Oh, yeah. Rattled.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I think it's a mixture of two things. Obviously, the players are absolutely not playing as good as they should be, and they can be for sure. And also, some of these decisions throughout the year, I just haven't really understood why they've been made. Yeah. So maybe it's going to require either this roster reacting more strongly to Ciraldo, or potentially Ciraldo needs to bring in different people that are his guys, and he's obviously doing that with Critter. Who are their signings? Bronson, Jerry, Critter.
Critter.
They got quite a few people coming in.
Blake Taft's coming in. Salmon.
Taft. So maybe with that amount of people coming in that are Ciraldo's picks,
Yeah.
that'll be enough in the group that can maybe get the message that he's trying to send, because he can coach. He can coach.
I think they'll be decent next year. I just would have loved to have seen better signs this year.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. So, yeah, hopefully... I'm really interested to see what their forward rotation is going to be next week. I'd be shocked if they roll out Tavita and Luke again. Like, give Luke a couple of minutes off the bench. Give him a chance to ease his way back in. It's been like, and the injury had a very serious injury.
Yeah.
Very serious injury. So, yeah, going to be very interesting to see what they do. And as I said from the get-go, I actually feel like Luke was put in a bad position. It should have been the coaching staff that said, mate, you haven't played for a year. Like, we won't bring you on when the heat's the hottest. Yeah.
Tough gig.
Tough gig. Anyway, that is us done and dusted. Beers and break-evens.
Beers and break-evens on Wednesday, mate. 23 rounds down. 26,000 points we've scored, and there's 5 points separating.
Wow.
Guess who's in front?
Yeah, he's got his whisker in front this
Kuma
week.
Stallions back where they belong.
Oh, back where they belong. So did you fall behind?
I fell behind for gave about 3 weeks there, a bit of a sniff, but
You're a bit like the Bulldogs this year. You started the year really strong, but you've been tipping a little bit.
we're building back.
So you're telling the Kuma Stallion fans to be patient?
Be very patient.
We are done and dusted. Grab a case of Bloke beer from your local, and as usual, I'll go and fuck myself.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.